The memories came back like broken glass, jagged, incomplete, and cutting deep. Anne, my wife, the woman I loved, she didn't just move on, she replaced me. And Derek, my friend? No, my enemy. Their betrayal was more than personal, it felt calculated. But what if it was worse than I imagined? What if the people I trusted most had a hand in my destruction? With every memory I uncover, I'm one step closer to the truth, but I'm also one step closer to losing everything. 14. It's not just that she didn't look for me, it's that she didn't really try. And why? Because she had someone ready to take my place. That Derek was there before I even knew it. Everything turned out just right for her, hasn't it? One man is gone, and another takes his spot in her life. You should have seen them, they act like they're already a couple. When he came to our table, I thought he almost said wife instead of fiancé. I was venting again, and Trish was listening patiently. She didn't ask questions when I arrived, she just offered comfort and understanding. It wasn't until I calmed down that she said something simple. "You've seen Anne, and it made you remember." I nodded and shared everything, the wave of memories that hit me, making me feel overwhelmed. After I finished, she spoke. She didn't try to change my mind or fix anything. She just listened and gave me space, which I didn't realize I really needed. "Alan, you've been through a tough time. You're dealing with sadness, and it's left you feeling exposed." Her words struck a chord. I felt thankful for her understanding. She seemed to know just what I needed, even when I didn't. We spent the evening quietly. She cooked a nice meal, but I hardly tasted it as I talked about everything on my mind. Still, she showed no signs of annoyance, only calm support. "Time for bed," she said softly. "Tomorrow is a new day, and you need to heal." It was earlier than usual, but I didn't argue. As we lay down, she held me close, and I felt a wave of comfort. For the first time in a long time, I fell into a deep and peaceful sleep. The next morning, I woke up late to sunlight coming through the window. Trish was already awake, sitting up in bed with a cup of tea. She greeted me with a warm smile and had made a cup for me, too. We drank our tea quietly, enjoying the calm of the morning. Afterward, we leaned back against the pillows. Trish started tracing gentle patterns over my face and arms, her touch soothing. In that moment, the outside world faded away, leaving only a sense of calm and a bond between us. Her presence felt comforting, and her gentle gestures reminded me that healing didn't have to happen all at once. It could take its time, one peaceful moment at a time. In that moment, I realized I hadn't thought about Anne that morning or our first meeting until then, and that thought didn't make me angry or sad at all. It was as if those memories belonged to another time. That world didn't matter, only this one did, where this kind woman was bringing me comfort. I kept my eyes closed, then felt a warm sensation wrapping around me. I opened my eyes to see her beside me, moving gently. Her eyes were closed as if she was lost in peaceful thoughts. This went on for a while until I felt a strong longing inside me. Sensing this, she smiled, and we changed our positions. We connected in a special way and seemed to move together with care. It felt like we were dancing, and I noticed a rosy glow on her cheeks as her breathing quickened. In a moment of quiet, we lay still, and I felt warmth wash over me. We rested together, feeling calm as the sun began to set outside. She gently nudged me, and we settled closer, enjoying the peace. I became aware of her moving, then heard her in the bathroom. When she returned, she leaned over and gave me a soft kiss, which I returned, feeling warmth between us. "Come on, let's get moving or the day will slip away," she said softly. She drove my car, which she loved, and we walked along the beach, bundled up against the cold as we had before. A mist rolled in, and the cool air made the sound of the waves seem mysterious, as if the ocean was hiding secrets. The brisk walk lifted my spirits, helping me release all my pent-up feelings, balancing the gentle comfort of the morning. I didn't say much, not thinking too deeply. I just wanted to stay in this misty world with this wonderful woman who cared for me so well and understood what I needed. She spoke little, just noting the foghorn from the lighthouse and other sounds from the harbor. We shared an evening meal at a pub, Then she drove me home. We spent the evening listening to music and playing Scrabble, a game she loved. We settled in bed, feeling pleasantly tired from our walk and the fun of the evening. As I drifted off to sleep with her arm across me and mine around her, I wondered briefly why she hadn't mentioned my past troubles. It didn't trouble me, and I think I fell asleep with a smile. We woke up early on Sunday morning, and after a quick trip to the bathroom, we enjoyed a warm moment together. We both enjoyed making the other feel happy, creating a connection that left us feeling content and relaxed. We flopped back onto our pillows, smiling at each other. "Good," I said. "Yes," she replied. Then we got up, and after having cereal and toast for breakfast, we set off to the Cheviots for a long, refreshing walk. We planned to stop for lunch at a pub near the Roman Wall before enjoying a relaxed drive back home. In the early evening, she took me to meet her coworkers at the hospital. The atmosphere was full of chatter, stories, and laughter. Everyone seemed calm, which made me feel warm inside. The drinks were flowing, and the light mood was a nice change from the intensity of life back in Sale. I noticed one person who didn't seem relaxed at all. When I went to the restroom, he followed me. He was a strong young man with a friendly face and bright red hair. We stood at neighboring stalls. "Alan," he said, looking straight ahead. "Yes?" I answered. "I'm Tim." "Oh, nice to meet you." "Is that it?" "Yes. I'd shake your hand, but—" I chuckled softly. "But, look, Tim," I said gently. "What you and Trish had caused her to feel guilty. I told her she didn't have to be faithful, but she wanted to be while we're together." "That's fine with me, too. I don't really have a claim on her. She's done more for me than anyone else, so I appreciate whatever she gives me. It seems she wants to stay committed until she goes to New Zealand. So don't worry." "Oh, that's a relief," he sighed. "I was worried you'd be upset about our connection. Like I said, don't worry about it." Tim seemed like a decent guy. I almost suggested he change his approach, but I held back. We went back to the group. Trish looked over, and I smiled. She seemed relieved. When we got back to her flat, she poured some whiskey, and we sat on the sofa with her in the armchair. "Okay, Alan, how do you feel?" I thought about it for a moment. "I feel good. I needed to unwind. Work was pretty tense as I adjusted and got to know Jenny better. Plus, there's the ongoing investigation into what happened to me. The team is working hard on that, and I feel a bit stressed that they're focusing so much on me. Then there was David's incident with Anne at the restaurant. It feels like everything has been overwhelming. You've planned a wonderful weekend, but you haven't mentioned the Anne situation. As always, you've handled things perfectly. I feel much better now." "And how do you feel about the Anne situation?" I thought once more. "I'm not angry anymore. There are other feelings, but I haven't taken the time to understand them." "You're going back tomorrow. I want to talk about the Anne situation. Is that okay with you?" "Of course," I sighed. "You have more reason than most to share your thoughts. I'm not sure I want to give you advice. I want to share some thoughts I've been thinking about, not just this weekend." "Okay, go ahead. I believe you already know what I'm going to say. Before you met Anne, you seemed more distant. Now it feels different. You know what you've lost, and it feels personal. Most of our talks have left us with questions. Why didn't Anne look for you longer? Why did she move on so fast with this Derek guy? Does she still think about you? How will she react to your new appearance?" I know the answer to that. She feels sorry, and it's hard for her. I saw her expression. Another question. If she knew it was you, would that change how she feels? I think it would really matter. Trish wasn't the first to mention that. "Well, she's getting married soon," I replied, "and she seems happy in her new life. She has to deal with it. I have too. She's being difficult about the money issue. That's not like her. That's because she thinks you've moved on for someone else. She believes you were unfaithful. If she's still upset, it shows she still cares for you. Think about all those years she spent with you. Don't you think she deserves to hear the truth and before the wedding? Is it fair for her to marry with such a misunderstanding? Whether you part ways or she calls off the wedding, she should know the truth." Trish was making sense again. I had been so caught up in my anger. Anne might not be in my heart anymore, but she deserved to know the truth. I noticed Trish's worried expression as she awaited my answer. Trish, as usual, you're right. How do you always seem to know what's best? I need to see her and tell her everything. I haven't figured out my feelings for her yet. My thoughts are all over the place, but thanks to you and what you've done this weekend, I feel more calm about it. There's time. I'll talk to her when I get back from Vancouver. There was a brief pause before she asked casually, Is Jenny going with you? So she did care. Yes. This time the pause was longer. Look, Alan, she said softly. I know you think of her as just a colleague, but if she shows interest in you, go for it. You're practically divorced, and I'm leaving soon. She sounds like a nice person. You won't mind? I asked, surprised. Of course I will mind, she replied. But that's not the point. She'll be around, and I won't. I have to let you go. I've always thought you might go back to Anne, and if that's not happening, I'd rather you find someone else. I still believe relationships at work can be tricky. If things don't work out, how do you keep working together? She's my assistant, Trish. Any move away from me would mean she would either get a lower position or leave. I can't leave. I own the place. Yes, I see that. But if she's willing to take that chance, go for it. You can talk about it ahead of time, like I did with you. But it wasn't just casual, was it? She shrugged. Okay, it started that way, but yes, you're right. I wouldn't want it any other way, even though it hurts to leave you. We went to sleep in each other's arms, as we usually did. We both woke up at 5:30 a.m. so she could get to work. I stayed in bed a bit longer, enjoying a cup of coffee, before getting in the car to head back home. I drove straight to work. When I arrived at my office, no one was there. Judy peeked around the door and told me Jenny was with Jeff, so I walked down to Jeff's office, which used to be mine. I walked in without knocking and found them looking over several large sheets of paper. Better late than never, Jeff said with a smile. Jenny smiled too, but it felt more like a greeting than a response to his joke. He continued, These are the details for the product we think Glencoe Industries will be interested in. You know you go on Wednesday? I asked. Yes, let me see, I replied as I joined them. Jeff started to explain, but I interrupted him. Let Jenny explain it to me. She looked shy and uncertain. Go on, Jeff encouraged. Tell him. Sell it to him. She began. She knew all the technical details and how the parts would fit into the larger machines they aimed to create. At first, she seemed shy, but as she continued, she became more sure of herself. By the time she discussed the price, she was really excited, but the price was too high. That's too much. I can't pay that much. Can you make it cheaper? I asked. That's the price for one, she explained. It's patented, and it's technically advanced. We would get a small fee for each one made elsewhere, but we need to protect our own profits. We went into a negotiation where she offered discounts based on how many we would order, ending with a good deal for both sides. I'm impressed, I said cheerfully. Okay, Jenny, you handle the sales pitch and the initial agreement, and I'll take care of the contract later. Are you sure? She asked, looking a bit worried, but Jeff smiled broadly. Absolutely, I confirmed. You know everything about it. You presented it perfectly, and of course you'll earn a commission if you make the sale. Can you prepare a PowerPoint for the meeting? Of course she could. That was a silly question. Her tone said it all. She left to get started with the papers, but Jeff stopped me from following. Alan, he smiled, you haven't lost your touch. You're always giving people a chance to grow. She'll impress you. I believe so. She's very skilled. By the way, Victor Belling, the president of the company and its original owner before it changed hands, knows you. You two got along well about 6 months before the situation happened. He came here wanting us to create this piece. You both had a great time together. He'll be quite surprised to see you. Jeff, I think I might have visited Vancouver before. Is that true? No. As far as I know, you've never been there. Oh, well, you win some and lose some. I had therapy that evening. What a benefit of going private. You can schedule it when you want. The next morning, Jenny and I went through her presentation and picked up a prototype. For something so important in controlling a major manufacturing process and checking quality, it was surprisingly small. We checked our tickets. and I saw she had arranged everything for the trip, even a lovely hotel on the waterfront in Vancouver. We left the office around lunchtime to pack, Jeff's support still in our ears. I was packing when David called. "Sorry to give you this news, my friend, but I received the final divorce papers this morning. You're officially no longer married." I felt nothing. "Okay, thanks, David," I replied after a moment. "Are you okay?" "Yes, David, I'm fine. I knew it was coming. It doesn't mean much to me. She's made her choice a long time ago. I'm settling in well at work. I've got Trish and a great assistant who's coming to Canada with me. Anne and I have different lives now, but I'll need to talk to her about visiting the kids." My feelings were changing, but I kept them under control. "As soon as you get back?" he asked. "Yes." It was a long trip, even without counting the 3-hour check-in. We left around 2 o'clock and arrived after traveling for over 9 hours without a break, reaching the hotel around 4. We took a taxi to the waterfront hotel and checked in. Here I was in for a surprise. We were assigned to a suite on a very high floor, and when we got there, it had only one bedroom with 2 queen-size beds. Jenny looked awkward. "I hope you don't mind. There are 2 beds, and this was the only suite they had available." I smiled. "No, Jenny, that will be fine, as long as you're okay with it." "Oh, yes," she replied, looking relieved. "Boys and girls always shared rooms when I was in university, and we never thought it was unusual." I wondered how many of those innocent arrangements had turned complicated. Well, that wouldn't happen here. This is too good a friendship to risk by getting too close. We were tired. It may have been 5 p.m. there, but our bodies felt like it was after 1 in the morning. I suggested we nap for a couple of hours and then go for dinner. I made a reservation for 7:30 and arranged for a wake-up call. Then I lay down, still fully clothed. Jenny did the same on the other bed. We barely looked at the view from the big window. Waking up to the phone ringing was tough. It felt like being jolted awake in the middle of the night. We both got up and took turns using the bathroom. I glanced out at the water, noticing the lights shining on its surface. I could see why people love Vancouver. The food was great. It needed to be, since our bodies were telling us it was still sleep time at 4 in the morning, not dinner time. The bar had beer from local breweries, and the bartender let us taste a few before pouring full glasses. By the time we went to bed, we felt better. Jenny thought that traveling from east to west was easier on the body, and as I started to feel good, I began to believe her. While Jenny changed in the bathroom, I found some comfortable boxers and put them on, along with my robe. I thought I would be alone and preferred to relax for sleep. After about 20 minutes, she came out in soft pajamas. They were a bit loose, but she looked great. "Don't look too closely," she joked. "I'm not at my best without makeup." I knew she was joking, and I told her so, watching her cheeks turn red. I went to the bathroom, and by the time I came back, she was asleep. I got into bed and fell asleep too. It was still only 9 o'clock. I woke up at 5, a bit confused, but quickly remembered where I was. From the open door to the living area of the suite, I noticed a light. I wandered in to find Jenny at the desk with her computer, going over her presentation. She looked surprised when she saw me. I realized I was just in my boxers while she was dressed for the morning. "Sorry," I started. I heard a noise. "Alan, your legs!" I understood her shock. I was used to Trish seeing me without a shirt, but Jenny hadn't seen my injuries since Vivian had passed. "Oh, I'm sorry," I said, feeling a bit awkward. "I forget what I look like. I didn't mean to surprise you." "No," she said kindly. "I know your face and head. I just didn't see how much you had gone through." "We're so bad," I replied, trying to smile. "You can see why the medics thought I might not make it. What are you working on, Jenny?" I woke up and wanted to make sure everything was ready for today. "You'll do great. Just be yourself and stick to your PowerPoint." "I've nearly finished. I'll feel better if I go over it now." I went to the coffee maker and made us a drink, then returned to bed to read. I must have dozed off because she woke me up, calling my name. She was dressed and ready for the day. It was 7 o'clock. I got out of bed and walked to the bathroom, feeling her watchful eyes on me. "Take it easy," I whispered to myself. When I came out, she had already moved to the living room to give me space to get dressed. After breakfast, Jenny took me to the conference room she had reserved for the next 2 days. They wanted us to meet at the company's office, but I thought this place would be better, she explained. Smart choice, but not completely neutral. We're living here for now. She blushed and smiled, clearly aware of the situation. We went back to the suite, and she hurried out with the documents and her laptop. She seemed a bit nervous, even anxious. I wanted her to shine, and I was determined to support her. I received a call that the guests had arrived, so I went down to greet them. There were 3 people. A tall, lean man with gray hair who introduced himself as Victor Belling. I decided to wait before revealing who I was. It might just cause a distraction. Alan Jones, I said. I shook Victor's hand and we proceeded with the introductions. Victor introduced his team. Dennis LeMay, the chief resource manager, was tall and slim, exuding confidence. Grant Concliffe, a technical expert, was shorter and looked a bit older, with a sturdy build. He had a unique face and seemed very interested in watching me. Victor made a brief comment, and we talked for a moment about why we were all here. We rode the lift to the conference room in silence. When we entered, Jenny greeted us with a warm smile, surprising Victor's team a little. I introduced Jenny as the negotiator while I would take care of the technical details. She wore a professional outfit that showed her skills and made a good impression, drawing everyone's attention away from the meeting for a moment. I suggested to Victor that we stay for the presentation and excuse ourselves during the discussion. I gave Jenny a radio microphone so I could stay updated on any issues she might face. She did an excellent job, allowing Victor and me to move to the next room for a proper introduction. I began, "Mr. Belling, we've met before." He looked a bit confused. "Alan Johnson," I prompted. He remembered, "You left not long after our meetings. I remember offering my condolences to your wife. You could say I've been through a lot. I've only recently started to find my way again, but my wife and I have separated." "I'm truly sorry to hear that," he replied with genuine concern. "You made quite the couple. Many people admired you. That's all in the past now. Why aren't you pursuing this order yourself? Why let Jenny take the lead? Jenny may be younger, but she's in her 30s and very talented. I believe in recognizing and encouraging talent." He nodded thoughtfully, and we listened to the ongoing discussion. "Yes," he said, "she will definitely show what she can do. My team needs to be careful." The talks went on for 3 hours until they finally joined us. "I need to discuss this with Victor, and we have meetings this afternoon," LeMay said, looking at Jenny. "But how about we meet for dinner and drinks tonight?" She glanced at me quickly, and I nodded slightly, so she accepted his invitation with grace. Victor then asked me to his place for dinner, and I happily agreed. I didn't want to eat alone in the same room where Jenny was entertaining our client. I waited in the living room while she got ready. When she came out, she looked stunning. Dressed simply in a little black dress, she highlighted her natural beauty. "You'll impress him," I said with admiration. "Should I find another room for tonight?" She appeared surprised. "Absolutely not, Alan," she said firmly. "I don't like him at all. This is purely business. Just to be clear, I don't do anything unprofessional for business." "I'm sorry. I didn't mean it like that. I just thought you might find him charming. He is quite attractive." "Typical man," she replied, though more lightly. "Can't you see how self-centered he is? Sure, he looks good, but I'm sure he'll be entertaining." We both laughed at that and then went our separate ways. Dinner was nice. Victor's wife was younger and quite pretty. They seemed well suited for each other. For a moment, I thought about why I hadn't made my relationship with Trish more serious. Guess it's too late now. I must have looked tired because Victor offered to drive me back. He called a taxi and I got in with him following, looking like he had something to share. "Alan," he said, "I have another idea I want to discuss with you. It won't take long, but I'd appreciate your thoughts on it." I found it odd, but he was the client. So we went back together and headed straight to the conference room. We had left a lot of materials there. His idea wasn't complex, but it would take a few months to develop. He then suggested getting a drink. "I need to talk to Dennis. Do you know where he might be?" "The bar," I replied. So we went down there, but they weren't around. "Maybe they went to our suite." "You're sharing?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. "It's the only suite available. Just friends, Victor. I mean, look at me. I joked to lighten the mood. He smiled in return. Understood. Can we join their group? Not much of a group. I'd be surprised if there's anything happening, Victor. She doesn't like him much. I think he can be persuasive. We went to the suite. As I slid the card into the door slot, Victor signaled for quiet, and we stepped inside quietly. The living room was quiet, but we could hear voices from another room. We stopped and listened. "Come on, Jenny. You know you want to," a man said. "Dennis, get out of my room," Jenny responded firmly. "You were in the bathroom. Now leave." "Jenny, you're a wonderful person, and I know you have needs. I can make you happy," Dennis insisted. I quietly turned on my recorder. We needed proof of their conversation. "No, you can't," Jenny replied. "I'm sorry, Dennis, but I'm not interested. You don't know what you're missing. I'm really good at this. Just give me a chance, and I promise you'll enjoy it." "Get out, Dennis." I said no. There was a moment of silence before Dennis's tone changed to a threatening one. "You want this contract, don't you? I'm meeting Victor tomorrow morning to give my thoughts. Which way do you want it to go? You won't be liked if you mess this up." "Are you trying to pressure me, Dennis?" Jenny asked sharply. "Is this how you treat people?" "I'm only trying to help you," Dennis replied smugly. "Trust me, you'll appreciate it later." "Get off me, Dennis. I said no." Jenny's voice grew louder, followed by sounds of a struggle. Victor and I exchanged a worried look, and I moved toward the bedroom door. Inside, Dennis was holding Jenny down, his actions clearly unwelcome. "I think Miss Tasker has made it clear that you need to leave," I said firmly. Dennis froze, then sneered, "Get out!" "This is none of your business." "This is very much my business," I replied calmly. "This behavior is not acceptable." Dennis glared at me, but his grip on Jenny loosened. "Your word against mine," he said. "No one will believe you." At that moment, Victor stepped forward, his voice steady and strong. "LeMay, you will pack your things first thing tomorrow. You no longer work for me." Dennis jumped up, looking shocked. "You can't fire me without proof." I held up the recorder and pressed play. As Dennis's words played in the room, his face went pale. Victor shook his head. "This isn't just a firing, LeMay. Your actions have consequences, and I will be taking this further." Dennis stammered, but there was no denying the evidence. Jenny, now free, stood tall beside us, her spirit unbroken despite the situation. "Don't worry, the police will hear about this." He lunged for the recorder. I stepped back, and Victor tripped him slightly. We stood on either side of him. "You really are a foolish man," Victor said. "Along with what we've heard, this is the owner of the company we've been dealing with, and he's a friend. I trust him much more than you. Now please leave." Dennis scrambled to his feet and rushed out. "How's Jenny?" Victor asked. "I'll take care of her. It's best if you let me handle this." "You're right. I'll see you tomorrow to finish the last contract with you or Jenny if she's ready." He hugged me, and I hugged him back. I saved the recording onto a memory stick and handed it to him as he left. I went back to the bedroom. Jenny was lying face down, shaking and breathing hard. "Jenny," I whispered, putting my hand on her back. She turned right away, sat up, and threw herself into my arms crying. I held her tightly, stroked her hair, and made soft sounds until she calmed down. It took a long time. Finally, she started to talk, resting her head on my shoulder as I sat on the bed with her. "When I turned 18, my boyfriend was in my room, and we were about to share a special moment. The door was probably unlocked because my uncle walked in. He had a key to the house. It was really embarrassing. He sent my boyfriend away and then came back. My dad was always very strict. If he found out, I knew he would be really angry. I was finishing my last year of school and wanted to go to university. My uncle asked me to keep quiet in exchange for things I never wanted. It felt very cold and wrong." She sniffled. "One day I couldn't take it anymore and told my mom. She didn't believe me and thought I was lying. That night I heard a terrible fight between my dad and my uncle. My dad came upstairs looking very serious. "Is it true?" he asked. I knew exactly what he meant, and I nodded. "And what you did with the boy?" I nodded again and said, "We were just touching." His face changed to sadness. He turned away and went back downstairs. The argument got worse, and my uncle disappeared from our lives. My dad never talked about it again. He had trouble discussing feelings. After that, I stopped sharing personal things with my mom. Despite everything, I focused on my studies. I worked hard to pass my exams and get my degree. I was often called names because I never dated any boys. Alan, I haven't been able to connect with anyone since my uncle. I told you I had trouble with the more confident boys. They didn't mean to be too much, but it felt like too much for me. The nice boys never came near me. Tonight, everything came back. The fear, the pressure. You, Alan, you made it all stop. You weren't loud or forceful. That would have made it worse. You used words. You were gentle. I thought you were weak when you first came back to work. That was my mistake. Alan, I want to rest now. I'm so tired. I started to move away, but she held my arm. Will you do something for me? She didn't wait for my answer. Will you help me get ready for bed? Would I? I did. She stood up and I helped her take off her dress and hang it up while she waited. Then came her tights. She helped me with each foot, then took off her jewelry. She was wearing a simple bra and some lace. I stopped for a moment. Everything, she said, her eyes closed. I unclasped her bra and set it aside. Then I carefully helped her with the lace, and she stepped out of it, ready for bed. I gently lifted her as she wrapped her arms around my neck. I carried her from my bed to hers and laid her down, stroking her cheek and kissing her forehead, covering her with a quilt. I brought her a drink from the fridge, which she enjoyed before getting cozy in the bed. She smiled happily and closed her eyes. It was past 11, so I went to the bathroom, thinking she was asleep. Just as I was about to put on my pajamas, I heard her voice. Leave them on, Alan. Would you hold me tonight? I need comfort. What could I do? I moved to her bed and got in behind her. She turned toward me, resting her head on my shoulder and quickly drifting off to sleep. This was the first comforting embrace without any romantic feelings for over 15 years. I fell asleep too. When I woke up in the morning, light was just coming in. Realizing where I was, I turned slowly. She was awake and looking into my eyes. Good morning, she whispered. Good morning, I whispered back. We both laughed, and she moved into my arms. I held her close, and she smiled up at me. Thanks, Alan. I need to use the bathroom, she said, and got up. I got up and made coffee, wishing I had some tea. She came up behind me and leaned against my back. I could feel her warmth. She let me go. I picked up 2 cups and turned, handing her one. She laughed. Did I do that? Knowing the answer. Yes, I said, trying to be serious. Now get yourself ready. We still have things to do. Oh, you're no fun, she said, pouting. Jenny, I replied earnestly. You've been without care for a long time. Just enjoy this comfort for now. Let's take it slow. This is just a reaction to what happened last night. I won't take advantage of you. You could, you know, she replied playfully, tilting her head. I mean, take advantage? Not now, I said. Let's get dressed. The contract was signed and delivered. Victor invited us for dinner, and this time we accepted. I emailed Jeff with the news. We cleared the conference room, and in the afternoon we went shopping. The evening went well. We returned to the hotel by taxi, sitting close together. We prepared for bed, and this time we changed in each other's presence, observing one another. She seemed to think about my presence with mixed feelings. I felt attracted to her. I used the bathroom first, then she went in. I was in my bed when she came back. She walked closer. Can I come in? She asked, looking awake and confident. Cuddles only, Jenny. Before we do anything else, we need to talk. You understand? My life is complicated. Okay, she replied. Hugs only. Make some room. I shifted a bit. We embraced, and she made soft sounds as she snuggled up. We soon fell asleep. Once our work was done, we had all day Saturday to enjoy ourselves. We visited the steam clock, crossed the water to the North Shore, and wandered around the market, enjoying the different stalls and lovely smells. We tried many types of food, both savory and sweet, and she bought some inexpensive jewelry. We sat with coffee, looking at the skyline of South Shore, Vancouver with its tall buildings. In the afternoon, we explored Stanley Park, taking a horse-drawn carriage partway around and walking the rest along the coast. As we strolled, I knew it was time to talk. Jenny, You know my story. You know there is so much unfinished and uncertain in my life. Trish was my nurse and made it clear from the start that our relationship was meant to be casual, but it was never that simple. I find it hard to keep things light. Trish could be open until we got together, but then she started wanting more than just the fun times. Trish and I are comfortable because we understand each other. She's planning to join her family in New Zealand, and I still have feelings about Anne. You know how meeting Anne affected me. My feelings for her and our past are very tangled. From what you've shared, if we grow closer, will you develop feelings for me? If Anne suddenly wants to return to my life and I want that too? If we were in a romantic relationship, where would that leave you? You might feel betrayed or let down. What would that do to your confidence in future relationships? I can only see challenges in that kind of situation. And then there's the fact that we work closely together. If we were to date, how would we handle things at work if it didn't work out? Right now, you're an important part of my life. If either of us found someone else, how would that affect you here? You couldn't just keep working with me, could you? We walked in silence for a time. Eventually, she spoke. Alan, when I learned about you and saw how you handled your situation, I admired you. You cared not just for yourself, but also for your ex-wife's feelings and the difficulties she faced. When you met her and it upset you, you shared your genuine feelings with me. For me, it was more than just admiration. I began to want you. You are always so kind. You faced tough challenges with a smile. The only men who seemed interested in me felt self-centered. It's a challenge of being attractive. Oh yes, I know I'm pretty. I've heard it often enough. I attract attention, especially after what happened the other night. I have something to confess. When I asked for your help, I was feeling lost, but I thought being close to you would make me feel better. I wanted warmth and to feel cared for, so I reached out. What did you do? She laughed quietly. You were so gentle and kind. I felt your protective spirit. After you helped me settle in, I didn't worry about anything else. Your kindness was all I needed at that moment. I felt safe, a feeling I hadn't had in a long time, she said, drifting into her own thoughts. I wanted to answer, but the right words were hard to find. I wasn't sure what I wanted. I put my arm around her shoulder, and she responded by wrapping her arm around my waist. See? She said with a smile. You always care. I'm sure you were a wonderful father. Your kids must really miss you. I knew our relationship had challenges, and getting closer might make things harder. Still, these moments of openness felt important. You've done so much for me, she said quietly. You've supported me, believed in me, and defended me when it mattered. I'll never forget that. Her voice shook a little as she continued. For so long, I felt like I was unimportant to others, but with you, I feel valued for who I am, not just how I look. I didn't realize how much I needed that. I listened, balancing all the emotions her words brought up in me. I don't want to promise things I can't keep, I said gently, but I care about you deeply, and I want you to feel safe and valued. Her face softened, and she sighed in relief and gratitude. Thank you, she said simply. The rest of the evening went by quietly, filled with a feeling of understanding and friendship. Back at the hotel, we took a moment to relax. She went to freshen up, and I respected her need for space. When she returned, she seemed calm, her eyes showing trust and appreciation. I don't want anything to come between us, she said softly, meaning more than just the words. I nodded, understanding what she meant. We talked late into the night, our bond growing stronger as we shared stories, dreams, and hopes. Eventually, a comfortable silence surrounded us, filling us both with a sense of peace. I adjusted the pillows to make her comfortable and smiled at her. Just relax, I said softly. She let out a small laugh, her earlier hesitance fading into trust. We sat together in quiet closeness, the day's tension slowly leaving as we chatted about lighter things. The warmth of her smile and our easy conversation made the moment feel real and connected. After a while, I gently held her hand, enjoying the simplicity of that gesture. She leaned into the moment, her expression softening even more. Thank you for being here, she said softly. I nodded, appreciating her gratitude. We stayed in that quiet moment, letting the silence speak for us. Our bond strengthened, built not on big actions, but on the simple need for peace and connection. As the night continued, we shared a deep respect and care for each other. It was clear this moment was special for both of us, a rare time when we allowed ourselves to be open and trusting. When she fell asleep, her breathing calm and steady, I sat nearby, thinking about our journey together. I noticed her smile and felt our connection grow stronger. The happiness in her eyes was clear as we shared a moment that filled us both with warmth. After a little while, she leaned in, her forehead resting against mine as she looked into my eyes. "Absolutely," she said, her face bright with joy. She pulled back slightly, the spark between us still vibrant. I felt the bond forming without words. A simple smile exchanged showed how content we were. As we relaxed, I sensed a shift in the mood. I jokingly reached for some tissues and said, "Let's keep this place dry," which made her laugh. "We can sleep in my bed," she teased, her laughter lifting our spirits. During dinner, our talk turned more serious as she shared her thoughts about her life and how it had evolved. "I feel like I have wasted so many years," she admitted. "I'm 31, and I want a family." I asked, "You're very talented, but your job is ordinary. What have you been up to all this time?" She told me about her journey after getting her master's degree, sharing how she spent 6 years traveling before returning to her first job. "I'm not sure what I was searching for, but today feels significant," she said thoughtfully. "You mentioned past experiences with men. Sometimes the shy ones need a little support. They can feel anxious," I suggested gently. "I don't think I'm confident enough to make the first move. Please don't let this end quickly." "Can we spend more time together?" she said earnestly. I thought about the struggles she had faced and felt determined to support her. "Of course we can stay together. It's important to keep your heart open to new chances," I assured her. "Can you stay with me a little longer?" she pleaded. I nodded, understanding the weight of her words and feeling compassion for her past challenges. When we went back to the room, we both enjoyed the warmth of our closeness. I let my fingers gently touch her, creating a soft and caring atmosphere. This time we shared a true moment together, free of hurry. If my hand brushed against her, I could feel her responding softly. She seemed more engaged than before. "Please, Alan, I want to be close to you. I want to feel connected," she said. I turned to face her, and she nodded, moving a little closer. "Now," she said. I leaned in, and we began to find a rhythm together. Her smile and movements inspired me, and she became more lively as our bond grew stronger. Eventually, we both sensed the depth of the moment. "Good, good," she said after we both relaxed. "That was so different. I loved it. A sort of release." I went to get us a couple of glasses of juice, and we sat in bed enjoying our drinks. Then we got up to pack for the next day. Our flight was in the afternoon, and we needed to arrive early. Later, we settled down in the other bed and fell asleep in each other's arms. I felt happy to share this moment, watching her sleep peacefully beside me. Let's just say the flight was long. 9.5 hours with a baby crying behind us was tiring. We left Sunday afternoon and arrived Monday morning. By lunchtime, we were at my flat, and against advice, we took a 3-hour nap. Afterwards, we ordered dinner, and after she ate, she gave me a sweet kiss before going home. The next morning, I had no memory of the day before, but I noticed all my laundry was done. I put it in the dryer, organized my papers, went to the store, and after lunch, I drove to the office. Jenny wasn't there, which was a relief. Jeff and I went over the papers and decided the trip was a success. I kept yawning, and eventually, Jeff sent me home. 16. I had just arrived back at the flat, feeling tired and unsure if I should have been driving, when the phone rang. I was annoyed. All I wanted was sleep. It was Keith. "Alan, I know you're tired, so I won't take much of your time. While you were away, I found that guy on the CCTV in York. I took Colin with me and we met him in a pub. I recorded our talk to some extent. We all need to meet tomorrow night at the pub as usual." "Yes." "Okay. I couldn't think straight now. Tomorrow would be better." "Great." What the man said was quite surprising. It adds a new twist to the case. 10 minutes later, the phone rang again. This time it was David. "Sorry to bother you," he said. "I'll be quick. House completion is on Friday. Do you have a partner for the dinner dance on Thursday?" I promised I would find someone the next day, and he ended the call, too. I fell into bed, and I think I fell asleep before my head hit the pillow. The next morning, I woke up with a terrible headache and a bit of nausea. I made tea and took some painkillers with it, then had some plain cereal. I was grateful I didn't have to work today. After an hour, I felt a lot better. I thought back on the last few days. I reflected on my time with Jenny. I knew it wasn't the best choice, but it felt right at the moment, especially considering her past. I decided to invite her to the Chamber of Commerce dinner dance. I realized I should talk to Anne to clear up some misunderstandings, but then I thought it best to wait until after the dinner dance. I was still unsure about my feelings for her. I held on to great memories. I found her attractive, and many others did too. However, her new relationship made things complicated. From what I heard, she was deeply committed. She had made a promise to Derek, and she was someone who kept her promises. It seemed best to focus on spending time with the children and let her carry on with her life. That thought was painful, but it felt correct. Anne and I belonged to the past. We needed to move forward, even if unwanted feelings of regret kept bubbling up. I found myself with two women in my life now. So I called Jenny. She picked up quickly and sounded cheerful. I asked her straightforwardly, "Would you like to come to a dinner dance tomorrow? It's for the Chamber of Commerce. Jeff and Susan will be there, along with David Lombard and his wife Vivienne. It's a formal event, so dress nicely." She almost jumped with excitement. "Yes, I'd love to, Alan. Should I pick you up? You might be drinking." "I think taking a taxi would be fine, don't you?" She agreed excitedly, and we set a time before hanging up. Later that afternoon, I called Trish to share what happened during my trip to Canada. She didn't say much about that. Then I mentioned I had finished the house, and she wished me well. She told me she could take time off over the Easter weekend, from Thursday to Monday, and she looked forward to visiting the house if I wanted her there. "Trish," I said, trying to sound supportive, "Jenny and I have become close, but it's not serious. She needs someone to lean on right now. I really want you to come and visit. I'll share everything with you when you're here." "I think it would be good for us all to meet," I added. She sounded happier and promised to come on Thursday if I called her on Wednesday to confirm. I reminded her to do so. That evening, we gathered at the Cross Keys for our regular Wednesday meeting. Colin and Keith looked serious. The recorder was set on the table. Once we had our drinks ready, Keith spoke up. "This isn't good news, Alan, but it's better to know. That's what we all want, right?" He looked around the table, and we all nodded in agreement. He continued, "I will play the tape as it is, and we can talk after." Keith, "Is this Ted O'Malley?" O'Malley, "Yes, who wants to know?" Keith, "We believe you can help us with a case about a missing person." O'Malley, "Are you the police?" Keith, "No, I'm a private investigator." O'Malley, "My memory isn't very clear." Keith, "How about I get you a drink?" O'Malley, "That sounds good. It might help me remember." Keith, "There might be other reasons to help you remember as well." O'Malley, "Go ahead." Keith, 3 years ago in August, you were in York. O'Malley, "Was I?" Keith, "Here's a photo of you at a hotel." O'Malley, "Oh, right, it was during the York races. I always go to those." Keith, "This was a couple of years ago. Look at the photo. See that man and woman? We are interested in the man. Here's another photo, this time at York Station. You can see the same man and woman, and you are in front of them. In this one, you are leaving the station with him." A moment of silence. Keith, "So," O'Malley, "what do you want to know?" Keith, "First, do you know who the man is?" O'Malley, "I might." Keith, "This information could be very helpful." Colin, "It seems like you were watching them in both photos." O'Malley, "Right, the man is called Johnson. He runs a computer company or something." Keith, "Why were you watching him?" O'Malley, "I was hired to." Colin, "By whom?" O'Malley, "I can't say. It's not safe for me." Keith, "A business competitor." O'Malley, "You could say that." Keith, "What were you hired to do?" O'Malley, Johnson came to York for a business deal, and I was asked to keep an eye on him. I was going to the races anyway. Keith, how did you follow him? Did you drive? O'Malley. No, he took the train. It was easy to keep up with him that way. I always go to York in August for the races. Colin. What was the point of following him? I don't understand. O'Malley, I was supposed to watch him and inform 3 people who were in York when he checked out of his hotel. Then I was to let him know that his client wanted to see him again. Colin. Client? O'Malley. I was told he was there to meet a client for his business. Keith. And then? O'Malley. I was to tell him there was a car waiting to take him back to the hotel and help him to the car. He got in and it drove off. Colin. How many people were in the car? O'Malley. Just the driver. He was one of the 3 people I mentioned earlier. Keith. Do you know these 3 men? O'Malley. Yes. They are from Withenshaw. Colin. What are their names? O'Malley. No way. I need to keep safe. I have been paid well to stay quiet. I've already said too much. You shouldn't ask too many questions about this. It could cause problems. You never know what could happen. If I were you, I'd forget about this. Tell your client, is it his wife? Let's leave it alone for now. Keith. Thanks, Ted. O'Malley. Oh, thank you, sir. Colin. One last thing. What color was the car? O'Malley. A red Toyota. Colin. And the license plate? O'Malley. You must be joking. Colin started the conversation. Well, everyone, we can gather a few important points from that chat. First, the attempt to harm you came from here. It was planned, not random. We had already suspected this. Second, the 3 people O'Malley mentioned are probably involved. They have a red car, and there are 3 of them. This fits with what the witness in Newcastle said. That's progress. It's a step forward, said David. But unless we can convince O'Malley to share the names, how much have we really achieved? I think we have another lead, suggested Keith. O'Malley is a builder who does different types of work like bricklaying. He works with someone, maybe his son. People hire him for building jobs. We should be able to find out who he has worked for in the last few years. Among them, we could discover who hired him to follow you, Alan. Another interesting point, said David, is how this person knew you would be going to York to meet a client. This suggests there might be someone inside your company sharing information. Is there any other company in your area that might try something like this? Remember, they might have only wanted to cause trouble. The people from Withenshaw could have made things worse without planning to. That has happened before. I thought about that. From my talks with Jeff, I knew there were 3 or 4 small businesses competing in our field. I couldn't imagine any of them using such methods except for Northern Moor Developments. Craig Wilkinson was not a nice person, according to Jeff. The only company I can think of that might do this is Northern Moor. They've had some problems trying to undercut us and then failing while we've been successful. Craig Wilkinson might hold a grudge, and he is from Withenshaw like those 3. But our team is very loyal. We treat them well, and they want us to succeed because of the bonus program. Jeff might know if there are any workers he feels uncertain about. Just remember, this was almost 3 years ago. That person might have left. He would need to check the records. I'll stop by tomorrow, said Colin. And you should know I'm passing this on to our team. They should have enough to look into, and really, it's up to the police now. Someone will recognize the 3 guys in a red Toyota. I'll keep you updated. I'll see what I can learn about who hires O'Malley most often, added Keith. It might reveal something, or will your friends look into it? He asked Colin. Not right away, Colin answered. Eventually, we plan to talk to O'Malley. We'll see if he's more scared of being involved in trouble than of his former boss. But you go ahead. I bought drinks throughout the night. These men worked hard, so it was the least I could do. Once again, Vivienne drove us home. I felt a bit wobbly and went straight to bed, sensing the world rocking like a boat each time I closed my eyes. I stumbled to the bathroom to recover from the night. Then, I fell asleep. On Thursday morning, I woke up feeling perfectly fine. I had breakfast, took a shower, and drove to work. As I sat in traffic, I wondered if I was still over the limit for drinking and driving. Jenny and I worked on solving some issues with order details. Colin showed up, and Jeff checked his notes. There were 2 people Jeff had kept around for a brief time, but they hadn't been helpful and didn't fit in. A cleaner had left just after I was gone, but she had been with the company for a couple of years. He gave Colin her name and address. The two people lived in Withenshaw, while the cleaner lived in Sale. It seemed everything was connecting. Jeff confirmed that everyone knew where I had gone. It was no secret. In fact, he said people joked on the shop floor that I was only going for the races. At lunchtime, Jeff and I went home to get ready for the evening. Jenny was worried about what to wear until I suggested she ask Jeff's wife, Susan, which she did, sticking her tongue out at me afterward. She looked amazing. I asked her to do it again, but she wouldn't. I reminded her to be ready at 7:30. 17. At 7:35, I rang her doorbell. The intercom buzzed, and she told me to come up. I assured the taxi driver we would pay and went up the stairs to her door. It was open, and inside she was in the living area, stepping into a lovely dark red dress. It was beautifully fitted, and she held it as she got ready. "Could you help me with the zipper, please?" she asked, and I did as she held her hair off her neck. The dress fit perfectly, allowing her to move comfortably. She wore a gold necklace with a pretty design, and her earrings matched. The black gloves, high heels, and a small sequined clutch bag completed her stunning look. She was breathtaking. "Jenny, you look amazing," I said. "Come on, we'll be late," she replied with a smile. Did I sense a hint of victory? Definitely. While getting ready, I felt nervous and, honestly, had been dreading the evening, knowing that Anne would be there with her fiancé and recalling how she affected me at the restaurant. One look at Jenny made me excited to take her to the event. I knew we would turn heads wherever we went. For a moment, I thought about if Jenny would come home with me, but it was just a brief thought. I must have looked lost in thought because she pulled me back to reality. "Alan." "Yes, Jenny." "How are we getting home? Did you call the taxi?" "Yes, but I'd like to visit your place tonight. I need to grab a few things for work tomorrow." "Of course. We can go together, and that will definitely get people talking." "That's why I need something more comfortable than this dress for tomorrow." Now that would really get them talking. I like that idea. She sighed with annoyance, but then we both laughed. I will always remember our entrance. We were pretty late, and I handed our invitations to the doorman. As we walked in, I looked for Jeff and David's table. I spotted Derek and Anne with some friends. I thought I knew a few of the faces. Derek's look of disbelief was funny, as if he couldn't understand how someone like me could be with someone like Jenny. Anne looked up, her surprise quickly turning into a big smile as she nudged Derek. I saw her saying, or maybe reading her lips, "Derek, now you're the one staring," followed by laughter. It's strange how a simple laugh can stir up strong feelings. For a moment, I felt a flash of anger, but I quickly set it aside. Jenny was looking up at me, bringing me back to the moment and the wonderful person beside me. "It's okay, Jenny," I said. "Seeing your ex laughing can shock someone." I smiled at her. I also smiled at Anne just as David called us over to their table, and we joined them. Thankfully, this took my mind off the resentment I still felt. The meal was fantastic, with 7 courses and great wines. After a few speeches, the dance floor opened up. I used to be a pretty good dancer. At least that's what Viv and Susan would say. Now walking without a cane was easy, but dancing put a lot of stress on my knees and ankles. I knew I couldn't risk it, as it could set back my progress for a long time. All 3 women at our table asked me to dance at once, but I had to tell them I couldn't. Jeff and David danced with each other's wives and with Jenny, so each time there was one woman left to chat with. Many men asked Jenny to dance, but I noticed Derek did not try. Jenny kindly turned them all down. "Go on, Jenny," I encouraged her. "You dance well and you obviously enjoy it. Have fun." "Alan, I'm with you, not them." Finally, a slow song began to play. "Come on," Jenny said. "You don't have to move for this one, just hold me," she said, pulling me onto the floor. Her arms went around my neck as she looked up at me. "Anne bothers you, doesn't she?" It sounded more like a statement than a question. "I'm trying to deal with all the memories of her. It's not just about her doing well, but the whole situation. My life feels broken, and everything I cared about has been taken away. I'm not feeling great." Her arm slid down to my waist, pulling me closer. and I felt a warm feeling spread through me. "You need a distraction. How am I doing?" she asked. "You're doing fine," I said, "but I'm not sure how to get back to our table." She laughed, and it felt nice. As the song ended, Jenny carefully guided us back to our table so we could sit down with little fuss. We took a break for the next few dances, then Jenny danced with David. "How are you handling things?" Viv, who was sitting with me, asked during this dance. "I'm managing, but it's tough." "David says you remember now. When are you going to speak to her?" "I want to get through this first. I needed to see how she is with her new partner. She seems happy with him, but I have to figure out how to see the kids soon." "That's good. Greta misses her dad, and the boys look a bit sad. Derek doesn't seem to play with them much. They really need you." Okay, Viv," I replied a bit sharply. "Tonight is hard enough without extra pressure." "Sorry, Alan. I didn't mean to push. It must be hard to see them together, but you picked a good way to take your mind off things." I felt bad about my outburst. "No, I'm sorry, Viv. It's not your fault. I know you're going through a lot. So who's the amazing woman who's leading my husband into all sorts of trouble?" "She's actually my assistant." "Is that all?" Well, the dance ended, saving me from asking more. I barely heard Viv mumble, "2 women in his life." A few dances later, something unexpected happened. It was a ladies' choice dance, and women around the room were picking partners. I couldn't see the floor, but I noticed everyone at our table getting tense. I smiled, curious who David or Jeff was in for. Then I heard a voice say, "Excuse me, may I have this dance?" It was Anne, speaking to me. For a moment I thought I was caught, but that didn't seem likely since she didn't seem to like me. "I'm sorry, with my injuries I can't dance, but thank you for asking. I appreciate it." I glanced at Jenny, who looked surprised. "You can move gently, I'll be careful. Please? I need to teach someone a lesson." I thought I knew her plan. I was about to say no when David stepped in. "Go on, Lenny, you can't let her down." He almost revealed too much. I shot him a sharp look. I could see everyone at the table urging me on. "Okay, thank you. I would love to dance with you," I said, standing up stiffly from sitting too long, and took her hand. They say a touch can feel electrifying, and that's exactly what I felt her hand, a reminder of love from my past. We held each other and swayed gently to the music, which was a soft waltz. "I hope you don't mind, but my fiancé was rude to you when we met at the restaurant. I'm fed up with his jealousy. This is his lesson," she explained. I felt frustrated. She was dragging me into a situation with her partner. I held back my feelings and focused on her words. "You were hurt badly. What happened?" "I was hurt by 3 people who wanted to harm me. They left me at a construction site in Newcastle thinking I wouldn't make it. It was a planned attack. Someone wanted me to disappear. They took everything I had." She looked surprised. "But you survived." "Yes, against all odds," I answered. "I was in a coma for almost a year and had to learn everything again about my life and my memories. In January, I realized I lived here. David Lombard and his wife have been really kind to me." There was a pause, and I could see her looking closely at me. "What's wrong?" I asked. "There's something about you I can't place. Something familiar." At that moment, there was a noise at my table. Derek had come over, trying to convince Jenny to dance with him. He was being pushy, but kept a light tone. Jenny seemed uncomfortable, but David didn't notice. Anne approached them with a determined look. "Derek," she said softly but firmly. He stopped. She took his arm and led him away, clearly upset, forgetting for a moment that I was right there. I smiled to myself. There was no need for words. She had used me to get what she wanted and seemed to have done well. In a way, I felt relieved and grateful to Derek for interrupting them. Anne was getting too close to finding out the truth, and their argument was a good distraction. I didn't like feeling this way, but it gave me a satisfaction I couldn't ignore. I'd remember that she had taken advantage of me. The table buzzed with questions. "What was that all about?" Viv asked. "She used me to get at her fiancé. It was quite enjoyable," I replied, a hint of bitterness in my voice. David reminded her of what happened at the restaurant. Viv stood up, determined. She needs to know this. That was not right. David tried to stop her, but it didn't work. I hope she keeps this quiet, he said, worry on his face. It's your choice when to tell Anne who you are, not hers. I shifted in my chair, watching the scene unfold. Viv was lively as she talked to Anne, who looked surprised to see us and seemed sorry for what had happened. Anne walked over to our table. I'm really sorry, Anne said. Viv is right, I was rude. I shouldn't have brought you into it. Things with Derek aren't great right now. She chuckled lightly. What I really wanted to say is I'm sorry for his behavior at the restaurant. Can you forgive me? I nodded. It's forgiven. Let's move on. She seemed deep in thought. I feel like I know you from somewhere. I shrugged, and she shook her head before going back to her own table. Jenny noticed the mood and suggested we leave, so we thanked everyone at our table and headed out. Your ex-wife really causes problems for you, doesn't she? Jenny said after we stopped by her apartment to get her things and went to my place again. It's not just her, it's what we had. Seeing her reminds me of what I've lost. I used to have a full life with a family. We were happy. And now, that's what weighs on me. She's moved on. I paused for a moment. But I have you and Trish, and that helps. Yes, Trish, Jenny replied. Is she joining you for Easter? I couldn't really tell how she felt about that. Yes, I think so. She'll come on Thursday and leave on Monday. Do you have plans for the holiday? I'm grateful you let me have some quiet time these last couple of days. It's helped me think, and I need to handle some personal matters. And I think it's time to visit my parents and talk about something that's been unresolved for over 10 years. We often act like nothing happened during those years. That's a good choice. There's already too much separation in the world. After tonight, you'll address your situation with Anne and the kids, right? I have a meeting with David on Monday to talk about it. We both felt relieved by these decisions, and after having a glass of milk each, we went to bed. As we settled in, I had an idea. Jenny, I finished the sale of my new home tomorrow, and I'm thinking about moving in on Saturday. Would you help me over the weekend? Of course. I wouldn't miss it, she replied happily. Just remember, I'm still not feeling my best, so let's keep it easy. What do you mean by that? You know, taking it slow, she said with a light punch to my arm. Got it? Let's keep it simple. The next day, on Friday, I left work early and encouraged Jenny to do the same. She gladly agreed. I collected the keys to the house, and even though David offered to drive me, I preferred to go by myself. He handed me a note with the instructions. Just remember the code to turn off the alarm, or the police will show up. With that in mind, I set out to drive to the house, feeling a mix of nervousness and excitement. The scenery was lovely, with spring gardens and blooming trees making the journey nicer. The sun was shining in a clear blue sky. As I arrived at the gate, I saw the long driveway ahead. I felt excited and nostalgic. Slowly, I walked to the front door. When I got to the door, I stopped for a moment. Was I really ready for this? Inserting the key, I opened the door, only to be met with a loud beeping sound. The alarm! I quickly searched through my things until I found the code. I entered the code into the box by the front door, and the beeping stopped. I noticed the word Sweden under the box. Then, my phone rang. I answered, Yes? Code word, please. Who am I speaking with? This is the alarm company. Please provide the code word. Is it Sweden? Thank you. Have you had any issues? I'm just moving in. Is this Mr. Alan Johnson? Yes, that's correct. I occasionally forget things, so I may need to check my notes. We can change the time delay for future calls. That would be great, thank you. I didn't want to feel anxious every time I came home. After that little talk, I started to explore the house. It felt familiar. The kitchen was easy to navigate. I was surprised to see that all the utensils were in their places. It was a nice, old-fashioned kitchen. I didn't need to buy anything. David or Viv must have cleaned and prepared everything. The living room looked familiar, but I couldn't say I recognized it fully. The other two rooms seemed to be an office or a study and a dining room. The office had a computer, and the dining room had a table and chairs, plus a sideboard that was empty. Under the stairs was a door that led to the cellars. One had a snooker table, and the other had a table tennis setup. There was a dartboard on one of the doors. The other two rooms were full of stacked boxes. I would explore those when I had more time. Upstairs, the bathroom and toilet were just as I expected. Their cupboards were empty except for toilet rolls. Then came the bedrooms. There were 5 of them. As I entered the first room, memories flooded back. This was our bedroom. There was the private bathroom, 2 wardrobes and a dressing table. I opened the drawers and was surprised to find men's socks and underwear. In the wardrobe were suits, sweaters, shirts, and ties. Other drawers were empty, but the second wardrobe had some dresses and skirts hanging. I remembered Anne wearing one of them, running in the garden with the boys. Maybe I could remember more than I thought. I found the drawers with the bedding and took out a set. I unfolded it and left it to air. That's what my mother always did. Another memory came to me. I remembered Stefan being unwell on the landing. A strange memory. I also recalled all the children in our bed with us on Christmas morning. It made me emotional. The house seemed to be bringing back my memories. I even remembered that we used to get milk from a milkman, and I decided to see if there was still one around. This house felt like mine, filled with memories. I noticed a note on the boiler from David. Dear Alan, I stocked the fridge with what you need. Here's a list of takeaway places that deliver. You can order more supplies online from Asda, Sainsbury, or Tesco. The internet is set up here. Try using the computer in the study. Welcome back home. David. What a great friend he was. I made a cup of tea and sat in the kitchen, enjoying the cozy feel of the place. It truly felt like home. I didn't have much time that night, but tomorrow I would have the whole day to explore, check out the garden, unpack my bags, and try that computer. I turned on the radio and let the music fill the room. Then it was time to clean up and head to my flat. I would be moving in tomorrow. I followed the instructions to set the alarm, wondering if the loud beeping was the reason for its name as I shut the door and waited for it to stop. Then back to my flat, where I packed 2 suitcases and went to bed. On Saturday, I had a quick breakfast, loaded the car, drove, unloaded it with my bags, and took a walk around the neighborhood. I stopped by Sainsbury's in Saletown Center to pick up some groceries for the week. I came back to the house with all my bags and was thankful for the car. I had left the alarm off, which was a nice surprise. My phone rang, and Jenny asked if it was a good time for her to come over. I gave her the address, and she said she was on her way. Being back home and on familiar streets was really helping my memory. I tested myself. Could I remember the alarm code? What was the password? Where was Sainsbury's? How would I get there by car? That feeling of being lost had faded, but in this new place, I worried it might come back. Still, I did feel at home. I must have mentioned that before. When Jenny arrived, we shared a warm hug. I showed her around the house, pointing out things that brought back memories. This house is going to be great for you, Jenny said. It's a lovely old house, full of character. We headed back to the kitchen, where I made a pot of tea and sat across from her at the oak kitchen table. I was home, and one of my favorite people was with me for the weekend. The day flew by. We spent most of it moving my things between my flat and the house, setting up everything. It turned out that the clothes left in the house fit me perfectly, and Jenny agreed that they were probably mine since Anne had never gotten rid of them. I left some clothes and toiletries at the apartment and decided not to end the lease just yet, since there were still 6 months left. In the afternoon, we did everything I had promised myself I would. We also cleaned the place, since it had been sitting untouched for quite a while. It was late evening when I ordered Chinese food for us. We were too tired to connect as I had hoped that night, but we made up for it the next morning. There is something special about Sunday mornings. They bring a deep comfort with moments filled with trust. It feels good to be relaxed, to take our time, and to share simple gestures of kindness and care. The understanding we had created a closeness that felt genuine and soothing. We spent the morning talking slowly, laughing softly at our shared stories, and enjoying each other's company. The sunlight coming through the windows filled the room with a warm glow, adding to the peaceful feeling. Later, I made a light breakfast of warm croissants and fresh coffee and brought it to the bedroom. We enjoyed the meal in a comfortable silence, appreciating the time we shared. As the morning went on, our conversation turned back to our plans for the day. Each word flowed easily, filled with the simple joy of being together. It reminded me how valuable these moments are, without any pressure, just respect for one another. After 10 years, she handled everything with a gentle touch. We headed out for lunch and explored the area in the afternoon, followed by tea, crumpets, and homemade scones with butter and jam. Then she asked me for something special. "Alan, sweetheart." "Yes, my dear. There's something I'd like you to do for me. No one else has ever done it, just you." "How did you know?" I asked with interest. "You enjoyed it the first time, and it's the only thing we haven't done this weekend," she pointed out. "Come here." "I'll be there in a minute." She went to the bathroom. I heard the water running and realized she was tidying up. I cleared the table, and when she returned, we shared a light moment together. After some playful teasing, a small mishap happened, and I needed a moment to regain my composure. "What is it?" I asked, standing up. "You're bleeding," she exclaimed. I had a small nosebleed. "It's normal for little surprises to happen, you know," she said, laughing. We both chuckled, and she helped me clean up before gathering her things. "I have work tomorrow," she said, letting me know she needed to leave. We shared a warm kiss. "Thanks. It's been a lovely weekend." "No, thank you," I replied, and we kissed again before she headed out. I'm thankful that we can't see the future. If we could, I might not have gotten much sleep that night. But I can't see the future, and I still can't. Let's be honest, I have enough issues from the past. So, I managed to sleep. 19. Work was easy thanks to Jenny. She kept things professional and respectful between us, even when no one was watching. I appreciated that about her. She focused on her work and had strong values. If we couldn't show affection in front of our coworkers, we didn't do it at all during work hours. On Tuesday, we had a local visit to make. It was related to one of the Northern Moor projects. We needed to see if we could help with their problems or suggest another solution. When we returned, we got organized and prepared for our upcoming trip to Germany after the Easter break. In the late afternoon, David called to tell me he had met with Anne and her lawyer to try to settle a financial issue. They still wanted money from the company, which could threaten its future, and seemed like they didn't care about the employees. Because of this, the matter was going to court. On Wednesday, I recalled that Trish was coming on Thursday and remembered I needed to call her to confirm. "Jenny," I asked, "would you like to meet Trish tomorrow before you head off to see your parents?" She looked uncertain. "Jenny, she's going to New Zealand after Easter. This might be your only chance to meet her. She encouraged me to connect more with you." She seemed relieved and agreed to come over the next morning. "I won't come over tonight," she said. "I can't have you rushing from one meeting to another." She tried to sound cheerful, but I could sense her worry about my time with Trish. I had told her that romantic feelings could sometimes bring about jealousy. Meeting might be a good idea or a risky one. As I was leaving the office, the phone rang. It was Keith. "I need to see you and the others tonight. Were you planning to come?" With Jenny not coming over, I was free. "Yes," I said. "It's our Wednesday meeting. I wouldn't want to miss it." "The usual time, 7:30? He asked. "Sure, Cross Keys," I replied, knowing that was our regular place. "Where else?" He laughed before hanging up. I cleaned up the house, knowing I wouldn't have time later. Then I took a taxi to the pub. The three of them were there, looking serious. "This doesn't look good," I said as I sat down. My pint was already waiting for me. After taking a long drink, I looked around. "What's going on?" "I happened to pass Northern," Keith started, and it brought back a memory. I hadn't taken that road in a long time. I noticed they had a new office, so I stopped and thought about it, remembering it was around the time you disappeared. I got out and walked to their reception area. Why I went in, I'm not sure, but it was mentioned at our last meeting. I told the receptionist that I had seen the new section and wanted to know who was behind it for my own business reasons. Guess what? She thought O'Malley and his son were in charge of it. She remembered the project because it took a long time, almost 2 years, so O'Malley and Northern are linked. But there was more. Someone in the office must have overheard us. He mentioned that he believed O'Malley worked for another company because he and his son were sometimes seen with 3 other workers. This made me think about our investigation. Is it possible that Northern or Fanshawe himself could be involved? How do we find out? Colin picked up on this idea. Cui bono who benefits, he explained, continuing without waiting for an answer. Northern has a motive since you've been taking their business. They are definitely a possibility. But Derek Fanshawe? Would he go that far just for Anne? That seems extreme. Fanshawe has been facing money troubles for years, interrupted David. And it's getting worse. He might be looking for money to pay customers. He's become quite desperate, and may be close to losing everything. Look at what he and Anne are asking for millions from the company. Why such a huge amount? She has a solid job and receives your generous support each month. There seems to be no reason unless it's to fix Derek's financial issues. So there's a motive. If you were out of the picture, Alan, he could try to be with Anne and build a future. Even if they split, he could still gain a lot. Being with her might make her act differently for him. He stands to gain a lot. Unless you stay safe, or your identity is revealed, said Keith. That's scary. I'm not sure if I believe it, but if he would go to these lengths for Anne, how safe is she if they marry? He would benefit a lot if something happened to her, unless she has taken steps to protect what she owns. That's a point I hadn't thought about, Colin noted. If he is behind this, we still can't be sure, then Anne could be in real danger. That changes everything. We need to investigate him carefully. We should look into his finances and create a profile of him. Also, talking to his ex-wife would be important. And then there's O'Malley. He might have useful information. We may need to talk to him about his part in this, framing it as a question about his involvement in a suspected crime. His wife might find the situation troubling, and it could ease his worries about revenge. Keith spoke softly to avoid being overheard. Colin, I think an informal meeting with O'Malley could help us learn more. Just not you, David. I believe he needs to understand how his role in this affected you, Alan. I'm a bit unsure about that, Colin said. But I'm not really part of the case, I just provide information. O'Malley doesn't know me either. He might share some details privately instead of formally with the police. That would bring a lot of attention. You know, Alan, when the arrests are in the news, you'll be well known. I'm not a fan of that idea, I said, shivering a bit. I think I know where O'Malley will be on Monday night, Easter bank holiday, Keith said. He'll be at the Golden Lion. We could talk to him when he leaves. If you can keep your evening clear, I'll call you if he's there. He usually goes out around 9. We really need this information, I said, realizing something important. If it's true, we have to stop the wedding. There are lives involved. If he means to hurt me, he won't think twice about hurting Anne or the kids. There was a quiet pause before David spoke up. Alan, you were planning to speak to Anne. I think you should wait until we know the facts. We don't want to alarm him if he's guilty. That made sense, although I didn't like it. We really need to talk to O'Malley and find out the truth. But if Fanshawe is behind my troubles, then I want to see Anne right away. Colin said, Alan, could you come to the station and give another DNA sample? I agreed, and we left it at that. As I sat at home sipping on some whiskey, I thought about this new twist. The idea that Northern Moore was behind my troubles seemed too shocking, even for them. But the reasons Derek might have had made it seem likely. I found myself disliking him more each day. Still, I knew we needed solid proof, and O'Malley would be the one to provide it. I finished the whiskey and got some milk to take to bed, hoping it would help with the alcohol I had consumed. The next day looked to be quite eventful. I kept wondering if I had made the right choice inviting Jenny to meet Trish. The doorbell woke me up. I stumbled down and opened the door to find Jenny beaming at me. Am I too early? She asked. I brought some pastries for breakfast. If you've brought pastries, your timing is perfect, I replied, welcoming her inside. I made coffee, even though I preferred tea to start the day, but coffee goes better with Danish pastries. What time is it? I asked as I was busy. 10. Looks like I overslept. I thought about telling her about the meeting from the day before, but decided it was better to wait for Trish to arrive. Just then, my phone rang, reminding me I should have called her. Oh no, I thought as I answered. Trish, I'm so sorry. I should have called you. There's been some progress. I met with the three last night. Where are you? She laughed. Don't worry. I know you can forget things when you're stressed. Do you want me to come over? Oh yes, I would really like that, I replied, and she chuckled. Seriously, today is Thursday. Did you know that? I have a long weekend off after working a lot. Should I come? She giggled again. Definitely. Jenny just arrived. Where are you? At home? Actually, I'm at a service station outside Bradford. I'll be there in less than an hour. Give me the address. She said she would call me when she was close. She had a map of the area. Jenny and I changed our plans and had some toast and tea, saving the treats for Trish's arrival, which was spot on. I opened the door. Wow, she said as she walked in. Great house, even better inside. I took her to the kitchen where Jenny was waiting. I introduced them and watched as they greeted each other. It was amusing to see them sizing each other up. I stepped out to grab Trish's bags from her car and took them to the bedroom. In one of the bags, I found a big chocolate Easter egg. I silently thanked Trish for thinking of it. I hadn't remembered to get one for Jenny. I would need to get one for her, maybe to give on the Tuesday after Easter, since chocolate is always a nice treat. By the time I got back, they were in deep conversation, sharing stories, much of it seemingly about me. Could you make the coffee, please? Jenny asked. And I think there's some Danish. Could you put them on a plate and set the table? Trish added. They exchanged friendly looks, clearly enjoying each other's company. I followed their requests and then joined them at the table. They certainly had a lot to talk about. After our snack, Jenny showed Trish around the house, leaving me alone in the kitchen. I wondered how Jenny would feel about Trish's bags in our bedroom, but I didn't sense any jealousy. Trish came back to the kitchen after stopping at the bathroom. She's wonderful, Trish exclaimed. You should keep her. They then suggested going to a local pub for lunch. Jenny offered to drive since she would be heading home later that evening. I don't want to inconvenience you, Trish said. Don't worry, I need to pack. I'm visiting my parents this weekend. She then shared her story. So, you see, she told Trish, by this time we were seated in a pub just down the road, it's not going to be easy. Alan made me realize that I should try to make peace with them and clear the air. He's right, Trish replied as if I wasn't there. He has good ideas sometimes. She glanced at me and smiled. Speaking of making peace, what's new with Anne? I shared what happened in the meeting last night and my concerns. Both women looked serious. She's going to be heartbroken when she finds out, Jenny said. I can't imagine that feeling, Trish added. Hey, wait a minute, I interrupted. I didn't vanish. You know I'm still here. They both laughed. Is he doing well enough for you? Trish teased Jenny. Oh, yes, Jenny responded with a giggle. Absolutely. But I think it's because of you. I felt a little embarrassed. Hey, I insisted. I'm still here. Anyway, about Derek, we can't be sure he's the one responsible. Not yet, Trish said. Not at all, I said back. We will talk to O'Malley and get answers. We know he's involved, Jenny said. Just be careful, Alan. I think it's clear Derek has a part in this, Trish said. I'd bet on it. He needs to be stopped. You aren't going to let the wedding happen, are you? Oh, that poor woman, Jenny murmured. Without thinking, they changed the topic. It felt like I wasn't part of the conversation. Some men might dream of having two women around, but for me, it was just that, a dream. They chatted endlessly about clothes and makeup, topics that didn't interest me at all. Not that I wanted to get involved in anything more than friendship. I didn't desire that. I appreciated my connection with both of these amazing women, even if I felt distant from them. I was genuinely thankful they got along well. Trish went to the restroom. She's great, Jenny said. I wish she didn't have to leave. You'll miss her a lot, won't you? I nodded. I've been so fortunate to have her support, and now you too. Both of you are smart, caring women with big hearts. And the wisdom to recognize a great guy when they see one, Trish said, as she returned and took her seat next to Jenny. This was nice for me. The afternoon flew by, and after dinner, Jenny left to prepare for her trip. She dropped us off at the house, giving me a warm hug while Trish watched with a smile. The two women hugged goodbye, and then Jenny was gone. "Alan," Trish said, "don't let her leave. She's perfect for you. She has everything. A caring nature, good looks, smart thinking, and she admires you very much." "I don't know what I did to deserve two wonderful women," I said, smiling warmly at her. "And you say such nice things," she replied. "But we have an appointment. Time is passing, and I want my share of you." So we went straight to the bedroom. A thought crossed my mind about how Jenny might be feeling, knowing what we were doing. Trish seemed to sense it, giving me a reassuring squeeze and whispering, "It's okay, Alan, darling. She's happy that you're happy." In moments like that, you wonder if it's all just a dream, but don't want to wake up. Deep down, I wasn't sure if I truly believed her. 20. Every Good Friday, before things got complicated, I baked hot cross buns in the morning while listening to the St. Matthew Passion by J.S. Bach. I don't know why I remember that while forgetting so many other important things, but I'm glad I do. Thanks to my planning and a well-stocked pantry, I had all the ingredients I needed. I woke up early and began when Trish came downstairs, looking a bit messy from the night before. She didn't say anything but moved around the kitchen, making tea and toast and getting in my way. Finally, she broke the silence. "It smells nice. Trish, you've never tasted real hot cross buns until you've had homemade ones." "Humph," she replied. I wasn't sure if she liked it or not. She sat at the table, eating her toast while I moved around. As I walked behind her, I kissed the top of her head. "You are so beautiful," I whispered. This got a snort of disbelief. "It's true," I insisted. Another snort. I sighed. "Some people are just hard to talk to in the morning." No response. She got up and came over as I was preparing the dough, mixing in the dried fruit and shaping it into buns. She wrapped her arms around my waist and rested her head on my shoulder, saying, "Love you." "And I love you," I replied, "and I would show you how much if I weren't busy right now." She sighed, looking a bit disappointed. "I'm going for a shower," she said, and off she went. Just over an hour later, the buns were ready and cooling, so I headed upstairs. Trish was fast asleep on the bed, wearing a bathrobe. I quietly left the bedroom for a shower myself. When I came back, I gently stroked her face until she opened her eyes. She smiled and got off the bed, hanging up her robe as she passed the window. "Alan, there's a girl outside our house," she said in surprise. "She's just standing there looking at it." After a pause, she added, "I think she's upset. I'll go and see what's wrong." She quickly put on some sweatpants and a shirt. "Please get dressed and come down," she said, sounding more like she needed help than giving an order. I walked to the open window and looked outside. Trish was approaching with another girl. It was a quiet holiday, and I could hear them clearly. The girl seemed familiar. "Hi. Are you okay?" "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. What's wrong? Are you in any trouble?" "It's fine. It's nothing. It's clearly something. Would you like to come in? Have a drink, juice, milk, tea? Come on in and tell me what's on your mind." Trish put her arm around the girl and they entered the house. I quickly got dressed and quietly walked down the stairs. They were in the kitchen and Trish had already given her a drink, so I hadn't missed anything. I reached the bottom of the stairs just as they started to talk. What I heard made me stop in my tracks. "So, what's the problem?" Trish asked. "It's nothing, really. I used to live here. My mom said the house was sold. We left when she moved in with her partner. I didn't want to go. I love this house. I hope my dad might come back. I wish we knew where he was. I came back for one last look. I don't like our new home or her partner. He makes me uncomfortable. I dislike that he's marrying my mom, but everything is just as we left it. And you've been making hot cross buns. My dad always did that on Good Friday. That's odd." I'm Trish. Greta. "Well, Greta, my boyfriend wanted this house as soon as he saw it, and he wanted it furnished. Your mom didn't want the things inside, so she left it like this." "Is he here?" "Yes. I think he's getting dressed." "Now, about your dad. What happened? Tell me the story." "He left us. 2 years ago, he went on a business trip and never came back. He's with another woman now, but no one knows where he is. My mom was very sad for a long time, always saying, maybe he'll come back. But then she became angry and bitter. That's when she started seeing Derek. It's not the same as it was with Dad. No one laughs anymore. Derek doesn't play with the kids. Dad used to join them. He was so much fun and would take me for walks. Derek is so serious he looks at Mom like he worships her. I don't think he knows we're here. I don't think he shows affection well. Mom was open with Dad, but now it's very quiet. I used to feel embarrassed when I heard them, but now I miss those moments of closeness. I don't understand why he did it. Mom and he seemed happy together. How could he leave our family? While we lived here, I always thought Dad would walk through the door one day. When we moved in with Derek, that's when I lost hope. Even if he couldn't face Mom, how could he leave me and my brothers? How could he? I wish I knew. I miss him so much. I heard her start to cry again. I felt a real sense of loss. My life and health weren't the only things affected. A whole family was feeling the pain, and they were still suffering, just like me. I hadn't truly realized this until now, but I felt their loss deeply. I didn't want Greta to suffer anymore. I heard someone move, so I hid around the corner of the stairs just in case it was her. I'll be with you soon. I just need to see where he is. Trish entered the hall and spotted me. You heard? She asked softly. I nodded, still in shock. My daughter was in there, and she was very upset. Will you go see her? She really needs you, Alan. I nodded again. I couldn't turn away from my own daughter. Wait here while I get her ready, Trish said in her usual practical way. Seeing you will surprise her. It's the last thing she expects, but your presence will mean a lot. Trust me, I know what's best. She walked back to the room. He'll be here soon. You wished for your dad just now, right? Yes. I've always wanted him to come back, but I don't think it will happen. Greta, you are going to hear some surprising things today. What do you mean? What if I told you I could help you talk to your dad? Really? I mean it. I can help you reach your dad, but there are some rules. Are you serious? You wouldn't joke about this, would you? I'll do whatever it takes. I could see her excitement as I smiled through my tears. First, you need to promise you won't tell anyone where he is. Not your mother, not your brothers. You know I have brothers? You mentioned that your dad used to play with them, so will you promise not to tell anyone where he is? He'll find a way to connect with you later, but not just yet. Yes, I promise. I don't understand why, but I'll keep it a secret. I just want to see him again. She was eager. Can we go see him now? Second, Trish continued, ignoring her impatience. There are some things you need to understand. Remember, you will hear some difficult news. Okay. I could sense her growing restlessness. Here's the truth. Your father didn't leave for another woman. Then why? The day he left York, he was stopped by a group of people who took everything from him, even his belongings. I'm really sorry to tell you this, Greta, but he was seriously hurt. When he got to the hospital, people thought he might not make it. He had no ID, so they couldn't reach his family. It has taken a long time for him to remember that he has a family. For over a year, he didn't even remember his own name. I heard her gasp. But I thought Mum contacted the hospital and there was no one admitted. The hospital was in Newcastle. I worked there. I was there when he arrived. Newcastle? How did that happen? No one knows. Your dad can't remember. But you need to understand he was very badly hurt. He still is. His face was hurt badly and needed to be fixed while he was in a deep sleep. You might not recognize him. I will. I'll know him. My heart felt heavy for her. Okay. My boyfriend can help you talk to him. I'll get him. She walked into the hallway. Off you go, she said, tears in her eyes. My eyes were wet, too. Here, she said, handing me her handkerchief. Dry your tears. I did and walked into the kitchen. I entered without my walking stick and moved closer to her, reaching out my hand. I could see her face change with all the usual feelings, shock, fear, and sympathy. And as I spoke, I knew she understood who this man was. Hello, Greta, I said. She took my hand. You're talking to your dad now, dear, I said with a smile, tears welling in my eyes. Daddy, she cried, jumping to her feet and running around the table into my arms. Daddy, she sobbed, and I felt her tears on my shirt, while my own tears fell onto her head. Now I feel like I'm home, sweetheart, I whispered. How could you ever think I would want to leave you? We stayed like that for a long time, comforting each other, while Trish, her eyes a little misty, prepared tea, a comforting tradition in tough moments. After a little while, Greta calmed down, and I sat with her on my knee, her arm around me. It might have seemed strange, but we didn't mind. We sipped our tea, with Trish smiling and glancing back and forth at us. She broke the silence. Greta, your dad had to relearn everything talking, washing, eating, and walking. He has worked hard to get as strong as he can. His memory has gotten much better since he came back to Salem. Greta looked at me with pride. Not exactly a sight for sore eyes, I joked. You're still the best man I know, she said, beaming. You're being too nice, I replied. You're my dad, no one is better, this is the best day of my life, she declared, her eyes shining once more. Enough of that. No more tears, I said, trying to hold back my own. Dad? Yes, chicken? Trish said you're friends. Yes. Does that mean? Yes. Don't forget, Trish added, your dad started spending time with me before he knew he had a wife and family. He needed someone. But it seems he doesn't have a wife anymore. Your mom is with someone else. She's moved on. Oh, Greta said sadly. The divorce. Then she brightened. But now you can come back and talk to Mom. No, Greta, I said firmly. Things have changed too much, and there are other reasons I can't explain to you right now. Remember you promised to keep me a secret? She nodded. I promise you, I continued. I'll tell you everything when it's safe. There are many things happening that it's better for you not to know about. But for now, I won't let you down, Dad, but please, let's tell the boys soon. They weren't getting along well with Derek. Life was tough at home. I promise. Now, I said, it's time for some hot cross buns. Of course, Greta started crying again, remembering past Good Fridays that could never be repeated. But soon, she was eating the buns, and her smile returned. It was truly a Good Friday. I had my daughter back, and this began a series of plans. I had to be careful about what I told Greta, so I kept quiet. She wanted the whole story about my time in the hospital, my injuries, my recovery, and rehabilitation. She held my hand at the kitchen table, as if she thought I would disappear if she let go. Thankfully, she had moved from my lap to the chair next to me. I let Trish tell her everything, which she did in great detail. When Trish got to the part about my return home, I took over the story. I told her about the apartment, my return to work, and she laughed when I mentioned Judy fainting. She was curious about my new assistant and a bit jealous of my trip to Canada. I didn't mention my trip to Sweden. She was smart enough to connect a lot of dots. After I finished sharing my experiences, she seemed deep in thought for a moment. Dad, she said carefully, if Mom marries him, can I live here with you? I think the boys would want to, too. Well, I think you're old enough to make your own choice. I'm not sure about the boys. Your mom has custody and I have visiting rights for now. We can talk about that later. She looked satisfied, and that seemed to wrap up the conversation. She took Trish around the house, sharing stories from when the family lived there, and I followed along, picking up old memories. Then a phone rang. It was Greta's phone. We listened to her side of the call. Hello, Mom? I'm with friends. I know, Mom. Mom, it's still morning. Please stop worrying. Look, Mom, I'm in Sale. Can you pick me up? I'm on your way to Uncle Peter's house. Okay. I'll be outside Sale Station at 2, all right? Her voice was tense when she said, all right. Bye, Mom. The conversation had all the traits of teenage communication, a mix of patience and frustration, wrapped in a hint of attitude. Greta, I said softly. Yes? My memory is a bit unclear. Did you ever hear me talk to Mom like that? Well, no. Do you remember me talking to you or the boys like that? No. Don't do it, chicken. It doesn't look good on you. Sorry, Dad. Okay, chicken. A hug, and that was that. I went out and bought fish and chips, another family tradition for Good Friday. Greta seemed thoughtful as we ate. Then it was time for her to go. I drove her to the station and dropped her off. As she got out of the car, she looked back at me. Dad, can I come back soon? Of course, Chuck. This is your home too, you know. I'll get you a key. Sunday? That sounds good if you're free. Great. And Dad? Yes? Thanks for being honest with me. Pardon? It shows you care. Derek never speaks up. He avoids it. Bye. She waved as she walked away. I felt proud to be her dad. She was a wonderful daughter. Her visit was a special gift because it gave me a chance to stop at a store and pick up an egg for Trish and Jenny and another for Greta. When I got back home, Trish was outside, kneeling by the flower beds and taking care of the plants. It set the mood for the weekend. The weather was nice and the garden needed work. Don't you want to do anything else? I asked her. No, she replied happily. I just want to be here with you. So we spent the rest of the day and all of Saturday gardening. In the evening, we cuddled up and listened to some jazz while I made a sponge cake for the next day. Then we enjoyed a peaceful bath, filled with laughter, and went to bed. We valued our time together, knowing how important it was. It felt refreshing after a long day. On Sunday morning, she brought out a big chocolate egg. Happy Easter, she said. I handed her one saying, Happy Easter, Trish. She looked surprised. How did you remember? I had to come clean. I saw yours when I brought in your bags. She didn't mind, but asked if I got one for Greta. Greta arrived just in time for lunch on Sunday, and we went out to eat and then took a walk. Greta wanted to understand why I couldn't talk to Anne. I promised she would be the first to know as soon as I could, but I emphasized the need to keep my situation quiet for now. She wasn't happy, but agreed. I noticed her concern when I mentioned the police, and I figured that made her quiet. When we got back home, I put together a meal of salad, ham, salami, and cheese, with scones and cake. It felt comforting, yet a little odd. The three of us got along well and felt like a family. Trish pointed it out, and Greta nodded in agreement. Trish said she was grateful for the time we had now that she was leaving. This surprised Greta, who looked a bit worried for me. I appreciated her concern, and Trish was about to tell her about Jenny when I gently shook my head. I asked Greta if she would take a DNA test to confirm she was my daughter. She agreed cheerfully, and I gave her the address of a clinic David had given me. It was school break, so she planned to go on Tuesday. I gave her a note to show that I would pay for the test. We drove Greta home, and I got my first look at the large house that was Derek's. The house in sale was big, but it felt small next to this mansion. Greta said it looked like a barn and didn't like it much. She hugged Trish after saying she would see her again before leaving for New Zealand, then gave me a hug, too, before going inside. That girl is going to break hearts, Trish said as we watched her walk in. Sometimes fathers need a reminder like that. I was surprised to realize my little girl was almost a grown woman. I looked at her as she walked away and thought it might be time for a talk with her. I mentioned this to Trish. You should not do that, she replied. That girl may be pretty, but she has more values than I ever had. Once we got home, we sat with our warm drinks and listened to some more music, knowing she had to leave early the next morning for work. So, in the early morning, she left, and I did a bit more gardening. 22. Colin picked me up at 8. The others were already in the car. We thought about going into the pub for a drink, but Keith advised against it. If he leaves early, it will be obvious if we all go out after him. I think if he believes no one has seen him with us, he might share more, Keith said. We agreed and stayed thirsty. At 9, Ted O'Malley came out. He had to walk past our parked car on his way home. What happened next felt like a scene from a movie. Keith opened the front door to stop him, while I got into the back seat. You again? Ted said to Keith. Yes, get in, Keith replied. I don't think so. Colin came from the other side of the car. Get in or you will have trouble before morning. There are some things about you people will want to know. It might have been a bluff, but Ted believed him. I stayed back while he got into the car. Colin got in next to him, and I followed. Keith sat in front. "What's this about?" Ted asked, looking nervous. "Remember our talk?" Keith said. "Now we need names. Who hired you, and who were the other three involved?" "No way," Ted exclaimed. "That's too risky." "Let's put it this way," Colin said. "Sitting to your left is the person you were supposed to follow. Take a good look at him." Ted looked over and appeared worried. "You brought those three to me, Mr. O'Malley," I said firmly. "They were told to hurt me and take anything that could identify me. They thought they had succeeded, but they did not. I'm just a bit upset that they, and you for leading them to me, have changed my life. With what the police know and what they will find out, they will be at your door soon. How long do you think you will face for that?" 5 years, Colin added, stretching the time a bit. "And if you do manage to get off, Ted," I continued, "I'll be looking for you. I may not look my best, but I am strong. I had to be to get through this. How would you feel if you were in my situation, Ted?" He started to shake. "Okay," Colin said. "You give us names, and when we catch the others, we'll tell the police you helped us. But we can promise the others won't know about this talk," Keith added. "If you don't cooperate, it might come out that you've been chatting with us. So, what do you say?" O'Malley looked miserable, sweat forming on his brow. He hesitated, but eventually nodded. "Who paid you and how much?" Colin asked. "I don't know. You have to believe me." "A tall man came to me. He promised good pay for following you and mentioned that I would get contracts if I stayed quiet." He spoke softly, sounding defeated. "I got £3,000. "Did you recognize the man?" "No. I think he might be a friend of Derek Fanshawe. I think I saw him in Fanshaw's office a few years back, but I can't be sure. That's just what I thought." "Why do you think that?" Keith asked. "Fanshawe is my regular contractor. I work for him a lot." "And the others?" "What others?" "The three who were involved in all this," I said quietly. "Craig Wilson, Lee Harper, and Gary Grantham. They work for Fanshawe. How much did they get?" "They bragged about it. They said they received $10,000 each." Everyone gasped and exclaimed, "Goodness!" "What about their car?" Keith asked. "The red Toyota. What's the registration?" "MZ02QBW, but Craig got rid of it right after they returned from Newcastle." "You knew they went to Newcastle?" Colin pressed. "They said they had done the job there." "So you knew they took me there," I whispered angrily in his ear. "And you let my wife worry knowing that—" "I don't know your wife. It was just a job to me." My hands were balled into fists, and Colin noticed. He quickly spoke up. "Listen, you'll be arrested soon, and so will they. Keep quiet and they won't know you've talked. If you mention this, you'll face serious trouble. Got it?" He nodded, sweat dripping down his face. "Okay, get out," Keith said sharply. I moved aside and he got out of the car. We drove off. It was such a strange feeling. After so long, I knew who had tried to hurt me and wanted me out of the picture. I didn't care about Fanshaw's reasons, whether he wanted my wife, my money, or both. He was a danger. It felt different because until O'Malley mentioned Fanshaw's name, I thought this was about someone else. Now it was very personal. The man who had taken my life and my family was now close to my wife, who was completely unaware of his true nature. He pretended to be a friend, all the while misleading her. Now he was planning to marry her. "The wedding can't happen," I said aloud. The car fell silent, each of us lost in our thoughts. I sensed they were figuring out how to talk to me about it. We were all in this together. But I felt alone. It wasn't their problem, even though they still trusted me. "No, it can't," Colin said. "All the information goes to the team tomorrow. It won't take long to find the car. Your DNA will be in it." "But Wilson sold it," David said. "It could be anywhere." "It doesn't matter. If it hasn't been destroyed, we will find it. Just watch." We went to the Cross Keys for some drinks. Poor Colin had to stick with orange juice since he was driving. He dropped everyone off and then took me home. "You're not going to do anything impulsive, are you?" he asked as I started to get out of the car. Telling Greta would be a bad idea. Greta doesn't like him, especially now that she has found me again. She won't say anything. But but I want her to keep me updated on what happens in the house. Don't worry, I'll be careful. Just don't mess up the investigation. I nodded and repeated, I'll be careful. I was more focused on helping Anne, but I also wanted to make Derek uncomfortable. Please don't do anything about Anne until we finish the case. Promise me, Alan. Sorry, Colin, I said firmly. I'm contacting Anne as soon as I can. She's in danger and I'm not letting her marry that man. Then can you promise me to keep Derek's blame out of it until we have solid proof? I promised I would try. He left, and I made a simple dinner of microwaved stew and bread. After eating, I thought about how I would confront Derek and how to deal with meeting my ex-wife, who I barely knew anymore, and felt a lot of resentment toward. 23. Trying to talk Jenny arrived at work on Tuesday looking happy but tired. Did it go well? I asked. Oh, yes, she replied quietly. It was tough, but we cleared the air. I'm glad you pushed me to go. Jenny had found the phone number of the company where Anne worked. I told her that her worries were justified and that the proof pointed to Derek as the one behind my problems. She agreed the wedding needed to be stopped if we could. I called. The receptionist asked for my name. Alan Johnson, her ex-husband, I said. I need to see her urgently. There was a long pause. Then she returned. Mrs. Johnson says she does not wish to speak or meet with you. Please contact her lawyer. The call ended. That was it. Jenny looked frustrated. Here, she said, give me the phone. Hello, she said when connected. This is Johnson's. Can you connect me to Mrs. Johnson? The secretary at Mr. T. Bucklow's office paused before transferring my call. Anne, I said quickly, please don't hang up. I need to see you. It's important. How could you pull this on me? You vanished for 3 years and now you want to talk? She sounded upset. We're divorced. Move on and leave me alone. Anne, please, I urged. You need to hear the truth. I already know. I've been told. Speak to my lawyer. She hung up. Jenny made me a cup of tea. I needed it. I felt angry and frustrated, but I knew I had to try another way. I would ask David for help in arranging a meeting. After work, I went to the police station and gave a DNA sample. Then I hit the gym and worked hard until I was worn out. I had just gotten home when Greta called. Dad, did you talk to Mum today? Yes, I replied flatly. Well, that made dinner interesting, she laughed. Mum was really mad. She told Derek he'd never guess what happened and went on and on about you. But the funny part was Derek's face. He clearly didn't believe her, and when she paused to catch her breath, he said so. He thought it was a joke, he said. Then Mum surprised him by saying you wanted to meet her. He suggested she do that. If it was really you, you could talk things over. If not, she could call this person's bluff. He thought David set it up because of the court case about the money, what's it called, alimony. Something like that, I said. Anyway, she insisted there was no way she'd meet you after everything that happened. Then he said it might help her get the money faster if they talked. That made her really upset. She wasn't interested in the money, just what he always talked about. He called her unreasonable. I left after that, and so did the boys. Thanks for the update, chicken, I said without much excitement. You'll remember your promise, right? I need to figure this out on my own, and soon I'll be able to tell you everything. Oh, by the way, she added, I got the test done. The results will go straight to you. We said our goodbyes with warmth, and I sat quietly thinking. Why was she so angry? I know she thought I had left her, but that was 2 years ago, and now she had another man in her life. It felt like there was a lot of frustration beneath the surface. After 20 years together and my offer to explain, shouldn't she want to hear me out? I had no answers. Those feelings belonged to Anne, not me. What puzzled me was how to reach her. Sometimes we look back on important choices we made, and when we do, the question we ask is, why? We remember what we did, but seek to understand why. Why didn't I just go to her office and talk to her directly? I still don't know. I felt really hurt and frustrated by her attitude and the fact that she did not look for me longer than she could. Now I was also upset because she refused to talk with me. I can be quite stubborn. Just look at how determined I am to get better. I often think about whether I was always this strong-willed before the incident. Changes in the brain can sometimes change how we act. But there wasn't much time in the next few days to think about my feelings. On Friday, Jenny and I were set to fly to Hamburg for a meeting on Saturday with a client. The project was complicated, and he wanted to discuss it with us and hopefully move toward a contract on Monday. We had a lot to prepare. Meetings with Jeff and one of our top technicians, plus the usual tasks. We had so much to do that it would delay what the client wanted beyond just a sample, and I sensed this could be an important moment. Jenny was already reaching out to several companies to help with the production, planning to hire extra help if necessary, but that was clearly a last option. Colin shared 2 updates with me, and I did something my daughter thought was a bad idea. On Wednesday evening, Colin called to tell me that the car had been found. It was being driven by a young man without insurance, so it had been taken away. Normally it would be destroyed, but a sharp officer had noted the registration number, and the forensics team got involved. Keith was away, so the 4 did not meet. Also on Wednesday, Viv reminded me that it was my wedding anniversary on Friday, so I thought of sending Anne a card. It didn't say, "Happy Anniversary." Instead, it said, "On your anniversary," and the inside was blank. I gathered all my strength, as writing was hard for me, and wrote, "On the anniversary of our marriage, thank you for so many happy years. I wish you happiness with your new partner. Please reconsider seeing me. I have an explanation for my absence. You do not know the full story. Alan." On Thursday, Colin called to say that Derek's accounts were being looked at. He quickly mentioned that Derek believed the police were working with the tax office, and they did not clarify anything for him. On Friday, I got the results for Greta's DNA test. I had sent my sample to the same lab, and the report confirmed in their formal words that Greta was indeed my daughter. Jenny and I were taking an evening flight to Hamburg, and Greta called me while I was waiting for the taxi. "Hey, Dad," she said happily. "Great job." "Excuse me? The card," she nearly shouted. "Mom was really upset. She told Derek that she knew everything about your past and how she would make sure you understood the results of this situation," as she put it. Derek then mentioned that the writing didn't look like yours, which made her pause for a moment. She thought it was another one of your tricks to get her attention. Well, she said it was not going to work. Dad, she is even more determined not to see or talk to you now. Oh, I must have sounded let down, as her response was one of complete surprise. "Seriously, Dad," she said, "did you really think sending a card would help? I thought you were just trying to provoke her. You can be a little clueless sometimes." "I think I must be," I admitted. The trip was not very successful, except for a nice Sunday spent in Hamburg enjoying the food stalls by the water. The main issue was that we had a better product, but they didn't want us to hire anyone else, and the wait was too long. My company was overloaded with work. We needed to grow, and I decided to talk about this with Jeff when we got back. Jenny was feeling sad, and I was a bit down myself on Monday night. We shared a brief hug before going to sleep. As soon as I returned to the office on Tuesday after a rough flight, I received a call from David. "You know the court hearing is on Thursday?" he said right away. I had actually forgotten. "I thought you were taking care of that," I replied sharply. "Bad trip?" he guessed. "It couldn't have been worse. Anyway," he continued quickly, "you might need to prove who you are, and for that, you'll have to be there. Just in case. You understand." "Right," I answered. "That brings up 2 things. First, I have called and written to Anne, but she completely refuses to meet with me. I'm not happy about this and have no plans to see her without her agreeing first. She insists everything must go through you and her lawyer. I want you to ask her for a meeting for me, preferably before court. Second, yes, I will be in court, but only as a visitor unless I really have to engage. I want to avoid seeing her in that situation if I can." "Okay," he replied in a weary tone. "I'll talk to her. Don't mention my current situation, though, David. She should still think I've moved on. I want to see her reaction when she learns the truth. And absolutely no Derek when we meet." "I understand." It seemed like he did his best. He got back to me within an hour. "Sorry, my friend," he said sympathetically. "Your ex is feeling quite resentful. I don't know what you wrote in your letter, but let's just say it didn't sit well with her. I tried everything. I said she'd get a better deal if she met with you. No, she wants the court to decide. I pointed out she might end up with less than what she has now. She wasn't interested. I even mentioned that you had information that could change her perspective about you. She didn't want to hear it. Okay, let's go through the court hearing and then approach her again. If what you say is true and she is not doing well, she might be more open to receiving some help from me. I think that could be difficult for her, but Derek might persuade her. After all, he needs a lot of support right now. We'll see. Jeff and I spent the entire day on Wednesday discussing the need to grow further. We agreed it was necessary, but we would need our own funds since the banks were not interested. I called David to update him on our plans, and he noted the important figures. He complained about the short notice, but agreed it should be presented to the judge for the next day's hearing. I explained the reasons to him, mainly the failure of our trip to Germany, which I thought might help convince the judge. We said goodbye until the next day. He also mentioned he had informed the police about Anne's partner, asking for a delay in the hearing, but that request was denied. The next day, I was in court. My ex-wife clearly wanted to hold me responsible for my absence and the difficulties she had faced. I guessed she also wanted to support the man she felt had been there for her, even if she still desired some form of payback. I could end it all, but I chose not to. I had Colin to think about. We arrived early, and I took a seat at the back. Derek, Anne, her lawyer, and their barrister came in. They noticed me, and it was clear they were trying to figure out why I was there. I gave Anne a slight smile, but she did not return it. I felt a spark of annoyance. I had never treated her poorly. I had been polite, yet she was ignoring me. This only made me more determined to reveal myself to her in my own way when I was ready. There were many legal statements and procedures followed by arguments from both sides, most of which I found hard to follow. Each party's assets had already been presented to the judge and needed to be discussed further. Anne's barrister spoke first, since Anne was the one making claims. I gathered that Anne wanted more than half of my savings and the money I was currently sending her for the children each month. I owned about £6 million in different investments. She was asking for $4.3 million for herself, because she had supported me for 20 years, and $1 million for the children to be managed for them. What made me uneasy was the next point. The barrister, a woman with a clear and calm voice, argued that Anne should receive half of my share in the company, which would give her a say in company matters and access to 40% of the profits. My barrister quickly confirmed the assets with the judge and added that the company would need my investment to grow. More people would be hired, and, in the end, Anne would make more money if she owned part of the company, although I would need to use some of my money for the growth. He reminded the judge about how I had often reinvested in the past. After that, the court took a break for 2 hours. David, the lawyer, and I went to have a drink. David said he believed that the judge would likely support our case based on previous experiences. He felt confident about how things would turn out. He was right. It took the judge some time to share his decision, but I could understand most of what he said. He noted that the house had already been sold and all the money had gone to Anne. He said this was fair. Since I had bought the house, I had essentially given her the money for my half. This surprised Anne and upset her. Derek looked confused. Until that point, Anne didn't realize that I had taken care of the situation with the house. The judge continued, mentioning that Anne was now in a new relationship and earned a good income from her job. Therefore, he decided that I did not have to pay her any support, but thought my contribution to the children's expenses should be about a third of what I had been giving her. He pointed out that I had been paying too much for the last 2.5 years. He reminded Anne that if the children chose to live with him at any point, the support I paid her would stop, but she would have to give it back. Anne was entitled to a share in the business. He said he would give her 30% of his share. Because it was a limited company, she could only sell the shares back to him or to Jeff. While she would receive payments from the shares, she could not cash in on the company's assets. She would have 24% of the shares, while he would keep 56%, and Jeff would have 20%. Since her share of the payments would only increase if the company grew, he said he would let her invest in expanding the business before splitting any remaining profit evenly with her. There was worry among Anne's supporters. He thought David had warned her. But the judge wasn't done. "It seems," the judge said, "that there are investigations involving Mr. Johnson. Therefore, while Mr. Johnson must start paying for the children's support immediately, the rest of the decision will be put on hold until those issues are sorted out. I will pause these proceedings indefinitely." So Ann and Derek would receive nothing until the investigation was resolved. There was a lot of talk between Ann, Derek, and their lawyers. I couldn't help but feel a strong sense of happiness about how things had turned out. In fact, I was very pleased. Now maybe she would agree to meet him. David really had to hold back his excitement until they could talk in the pub later. "I can't believe the judge did that," David said with enthusiasm. The lawyer smiled. "I told you he would do a good job," he replied. "Judges can be flexible when deciding on these matters. Our judge is fair. I think he noticed some selfishness in your ex-wife's request. I wouldn't say he punished her, but it looks that way." That evening, David was at home resting after another session of therapy when Greta called. "Dad, it's really quiet at home. I decided to go out for a bit. They are just going in circles about the court case from this morning. Derek is trying not to say, 'I told you so,' but that's what he thinks. Mom looks really sad. Is it true they lost the case?" "Well, it's not just about winning or losing. They just didn't get what they hoped for." "Dad, Mom and Derek talked about the case and they mentioned you coming back. Derek believes you're pretending to be alive and that there will be trouble for you and Mr. Lombard, but Mom isn't so sure." The boys heard them talking, and they're upset because they haven't seen you in ages. She paused. "Can I bring them over?" "Yes, you should. How about tomorrow?" "I'll bring them after dinner. Greta, you need to tell them how I look now. Do it on the way, not at home, and ask them to keep it a secret about the visit. Things are getting close to the end here. I'll share everything I know when you come alone next time." "Okay, Dad." She sounded happy. "See you tomorrow." I was interested to hear Derek's thoughts about the judge. He clearly thought I was gone for good. He was in for a surprise. Still, it kept his mind off the fact that the police were looking into him. I also realized that Greta had the right to know as much as I did. I hoped she could handle it. The next day was Friday, and Jenny was supposed to come for the weekend. But when she found out the boys were visiting, she offered to stay home until they left before coming over. "They'll have enough to deal with seeing the new you," she said with a laugh. "Plus, Greta might need to get used to you having two girls around. But I think she would be impressed." I told her I wasn't so sure about that, but I appreciated her kindness. I stopped by the gym on my way home. I know I talk a lot about therapy and the gym, but it was crucial for my recovery. My body was getting stronger, and my muscles were tightening. It was tough work, but it was a big part of my life right now. I think it helped my mind and memory get better, too. I had just finished showering and baked some of Jan's favorite cookies when the doorbell rang. When I opened the door, I recognized them. They seemed older and taller than I remembered. Jan looked at me with mixed feelings, and Stefan held Greta's hand, looking a bit worried. We stood on the doorstep for what felt like a long time, though it was probably just a few seconds. "Come in, boys," I said, stepping aside to let Greta guide them to the living room. But they had other plans and rushed up the stairs to their rooms. We could hear their joyful voices as they discovered things they had left behind and saw their posters still on the walls. Greta looked a little frustrated. "They're boys, Greta," I said gently. "Give them a moment." They quickly came back down the stairs and into the kitchen. "Cookies, Steph!" Jan shouted. "Dad made cookies!" We followed them into the room. Jan dove right in and Stefan was close behind. Greta and I exchanged smiles. The awkwardness was gone. They felt at home. "Sit down, lads," I said, and they plopped down at the table, excited to dig into the cookies. I sat across from them, and Greta took the chair beside me after serving them each a glass of milk from the fridge. "I remember these cookies, Dad," Stefan said shyly. I smiled, and Jan almost spit out his milk. I raised an eyebrow, and that made both boys laugh even harder. Greta rolled her eyes, and I placed my hand on hers. "Dad, you look funny when you smile," Jan said, still giggling. "Kind of lopsided." "I'm glad you find me funny," I replied with a grin. Did it hurt when the guys hurt you? Asked Stefan, sounding a bit braver. I'm sorry, Stefan, I said. I can't remember much about what happened. Greta said you were in bed for nearly a year, Jan added. We chatted about my recovery, and the boys started to relax as they spoke. They seemed to take some pride in their dad, but then the tough questions came. Now that you're back, Dad, Stefan began, are you going to see Mum soon? Stefan, it's not so simple, I told him. Mum is with someone else now. We are divorced, and she is marrying him next week. So I don't think that will happen, do you? But when she sees you, she'll want you back and cancel the wedding, he said, his reasoning clear for a 10-year-old. I wish it were that easy, chicken, I replied, trying to be gentle. It's been 2 years, and she really cares for Derek now. But he's so boring, exclaimed Jan, clearly frustrated with my answers. You don't understand, Dad. He never does anything with us. He just watches Mum all the time. It makes me sick. He made a noise of disgust, and the others chuckled. It's true, Dad, said Greta. I'm sure Mum isn't completely happy. I think she's marrying him because he seems like the best choice for her. She doesn't sing around the house like she used to. And you and Mum used to laugh a lot, Stefan added. And you used to play together and joke. Honestly, it's so boring, said Jan. Hearing this made me sad. The idea of a dull, humorless family hurt me. I remembered our fun times in the garden. And, Greta continued, he doesn't help around the house at all. You used to cook, bake, and share the chores with Mum. He just comes home and doesn't get involved. Mum does everything and works, while I help when I can. Dad, Jan asked before I could say anything. Yes, Jan? If Mum marries Derek. Derek? I asked. It's what we call him, Stefan grinned. Greta smiled too. Go on, Jan, I said, not wanting to add more. If she marries him, I want to come live with you. There, it was said. So do I, Stefan echoed. Can we? Again, I was in a tough spot. I was still thinking of a way to answer when Greta said something that worried me. I'd like to come too, Dad, she said quietly. I don't like how he looks at me. I tried to ignore her words, but they scared me. I knew I would have to talk to her about it soon. Kids, I said, you can come live here any time, and you are welcome. But don't you think that's hard on Mom? She loves you, and we'd have to sort everything out. Mom has custody of you three, and I only get to visit. That would have to change, and Mum might not agree. There was a quiet pause. Sorry, I added. I didn't make the rules. Please, Dad, Greta said. Please talk to Mum. She's going to marry him next week. I think she would change her mind if she could talk to you. This marriage isn't right. I agreed silently. When she knew everything, she would understand just how wrong it was. But now wasn't the time. It was time to talk about plans with my kids. I explained to the boys that there were things their mother shouldn't know, and I couldn't risk them saying the wrong thing. They would find out soon enough. I said I had tried to see her, but she didn't want to talk. She's very upset with me, I told them. Because of what she thinks I've done, but I can't say more because it could affect the police investigations. I'll make one more try to talk to her, but after that, I'll have to surprise her once I know what the police are planning. Derek thought the police were looking into Uncle David, Jan said. Well, they're not, I replied. But I really can't tell you more. Can we tell her we've seen you? Greta asked. She may want to see you if she thinks you're going to take us away from her. I hadn't thought of that. I worried they might say too much. If Derek found out I was hurt, he might warn the people who did this to me. I decided to take the risk. Okay, I said. You can tell her we've met, but there must be some rules. Guys, these rules are very important. One mistake, and everything could fall apart. Please don't let me down. We won't, Dad, they promised. I hoped they would keep that promise. Rule 1, I said. Don't talk about how I look. I'm fine, that's all she needs to know. She knows where I live. She must not find out about my injury. Do you get it? They nodded. Rule 2. Don't talk about why I left. You can tell her to ask me if she wants to know why I left her. You can say I didn't leave for someone else. I didn't. You can tell her I have proof. She must not know I've been hurt. Got it?" They nodded again. Rule 3. Don't give her any information unless she asks for it. Answer her questions, but don't offer extra details. Do you understand? They nodded. If she asks if I'm with anyone right now, boys, you don't know that. Greta does. Tell her to ask Greta, but you can say there's no one living with me right now. Please, boys, I said. Don't let me down. You could ruin a lot of good work the police are doing to find out who did this to me, okay? For the first time since they arrived, Jan came around the table and hugged me. I felt touched. It's not easy for a teenager to do that. Stefan took that as a sign and came over to sit on my lap, putting his arm around my neck. I fought back tears. Greta's eyes were wet too. We were a family again, though a bit broken. It was time for them to go. As they left, they hugged me, and Greta smiled at me. "Greta," I whispered, "come back soon. I have things to tell you." She nodded and smiled, and then they were gone. 25. I wondered again if I was making the right choice. Maybe it would have been better to stay away from Anne and let her continue her life without me. She would easily find someone else and, given how quickly things moved with Derek, would likely be in a new relationship soon. I scolded myself. Even though I felt angry with her, she had waited a year and had turned down Derek's advances for a while before that. I couldn't imagine her getting over my appearance. I didn't like living with my scars or how I felt about myself. My body still worked and my voice was okay, but I knew I wouldn't look appealing to her. I couldn't bear the thought of her feeling sorry for me. I just couldn't see how we could be happy together. What made things harder was her lack of trust in me. She believed everything Derek told her. No, I couldn't see us reuniting, but eventually she would see Derek for the person he really is before he ends up in prison. A heavy feeling of sadness washed over me. I felt lost and worried about being alone. What woman would want someone like me? I couldn't reach out to Jenny. She deserved better. I broke down and cried. My moment of sadness was interrupted by the phone ringing. It was Jenny. "Are you ready for me?" she asked. And I suddenly realized I had lost track of time. "Yes," I answered, though my voice gave away my anxiety. "I'll be there in a few minutes." When she arrived, she hugged me tightly, and I felt my emotions spill out again. She offered comfort, and soon I felt sleepy and relaxed with her by my side. We spent the weekend together. I half expected Greta to call, but there was no news from her. I wondered what was happening at her house. Like Trish, Jenny knew how to make me feel better. We took long walks and talked, and she patiently listened as I expressed my thoughts about what had happened, especially about Anne not wanting to talk to me directly. I was telling Jenny that I thought I should ask David to speak to Anne when she suggested something. "If you're going to get someone else to tell her, Trish would be a good choice. She knows you well from the time you spent in the hospital. Why don't you give her a call?" I admired her suggestion and told her so. "That's why I'm here to support you," she said with a grin. "I like the sound of that," I replied. We decided to spend more time together. Later she said, "Why don't you text Greta and see if there's a pre-wedding gathering? If Trish showed up unexpectedly, Anne might be more open to talking." "I'm glad I have you helping me think," I said gratefully. She smiled warmly. "You keep me going, and I'll keep thinking," she said. After a while, I realized I had to reach out to Trish. I called her and sent a message to Greta. Trish said she would find a way to take time off and come over when I needed her. Greta replied, saying she was in trouble for sneaking out and that her family and friends were meeting at George Pub on Thursday at 7:30. I called Trish again, and she said she would come on Thursday around lunchtime, but would have to leave early on Friday. I thanked her genuinely for everything she had done for me since my time in the hospital. On Monday, David called to say he had tried again to set up a meeting between Anne and me, but had been turned down again. Jenny stayed over on Tuesday night, which was comforting, and she joined a group of friends at the Cross Keys on Wednesday. I ordered drinks and sat down. "Your DNA was found in the car," Colin said cautiously, "though I probably shouldn't be telling you this. There will be arrests soon." "Do you know when?" I asked, thinking about Anne's wedding. "I can't share that," Colin replied seriously. "But when it happens, Everyone involved will be taken at the same time and brought to different places. They need to get everything ready before they act. Experience tells me, said Keith helpfully, that it is unlikely to happen this week. Not on the weekend. It would cost too much in overtime. Monday or Tuesday would be better. So the wedding is on, I said sadly, and Anne will have Derek for a short time. What if they go on a honeymoon? If Derek goes to Spain, he might not come back. I'm sure he'll be kept in check, Colin replied. They won't let him leave the country. I wanted to get Anne to see you again, David added, but she won't budge. She can be really stubborn. I understand, I said with a laugh. I remember having small arguments with her. Once she sets her mind, it's hard to change it. Trish is coming over tomorrow, and we plan to join her pre-wedding gathering. I'll talk to Anne then. So, everything should come together in the next few days, Jenny said for the first time. It'll be a relief for you, Alan. The others nodded in agreement. But, Colin cautioned, even if O'Malley and the others are found guilty, we might not be able to hold Derek responsible. A good lawyer could help him avoid trouble. I bet the 3 guys will stay in custody, but Derek might get bail. O'Malley's future will depend on if he cooperates with the authorities, David added. It could be 6 months before the trial, Colin noted. The courts will send them to the Crown Court, but there's a wait for trials. You need to realize that Derek might convince Anne he did nothing wrong, David said. He's good at misleading people. The meeting fell silent. We understood the situation, but court outcomes are unpredictable. Nothing was guaranteed. I felt frustrated thinking he might avoid consequences. I promised myself he would face some form of justice. If the courts couldn't do it, I would find another way. My feelings must have shown on my face. Don't stress about problems until they happen, David said. You don't know how Anne will react yet. She's about to see Derek isn't entirely truthful, but she always knows you're honest. Just wait and see, Alan. As always, he made sense. I nodded and Jenny offered support with a gentle squeeze of my arm, but I noticed the raised eyebrows and chose to ignore them. Jenny decided to head back to her place. It seemed she wanted to show that my ties with Trish were different and needed some space. I thought I understood. I won't expect to see you at work tomorrow, she said. Focus on sorting things out with Trish. It's important to know where she stands. Trish arrived in the afternoon. We discussed her plans, and I quickly realized they made sense. Was there another option? Trish and I entered the pub around 8. It wasn't hard to find the gathering. Greta was there. 15 people were sitting at tables on one side of the main lounge. I recognized Anne's parents, her brother and sister. The others were likely close family and friends. We entered the pub through a side room which kept us out of Anne's line of sight. Originally, each room had a door, but those had been taken away, leaving open access. Trish led me to a table in a quiet corner away from the group. You'll hear everything from here. I think Anne will come to see you when I'm done talking to her. Are you sure you want me to go on? Yes. She must know everything. I can't let her marry Derek without the full truth. Do you have the details? Yes, and trust me, I'm ready for this. She stood and went over to Anne's table. Mrs. Johnson? I heard her say. Yes? Anne's tone was filled with tension. I'm sorry to interrupt, but this is important. I'm here on behalf of your ex-husband. He needs to talk to you. He wants you to know, not interested. Tell him he's done enough harm. I have a lawyer. He can speak to them. Mrs. Johnson, please. It's really in your best interest to speak to him directly. Just leave us be, Miss O'Toole. Mother? Greta called out. Why are you being unreasonable? Maybe Miss O'Toole can explain what he wants to say. Fine, Anne said, her voice calm. Miss O'Toole, please go ahead. The room quieted down. Everyone leaned in to listen. May I sit down? I assumed they would say yes since Trish was still by Anne. I have some photographs. Some of these you might have seen before. Here. I watched as Trish laid the photos on the table one by one. I've seen these, Anne said, sounding a little annoyed. It's him with another woman. At the hotel. Yes, I know. Look at the date and time here. And this one, just 5 minutes later at the restaurant. This is the day he disappeared. Yes, yes, Anne replied, growing frustrated. And that's them together, and that one shows them buying tickets. So what? Before I show you the next one, please look closely at these two again. Do you know this man? He looks familiar. Yes. Now look at this next photo, dated 3 minutes after the last one. But I felt a small sense of hope as Anne hesitated. I've never seen this one before. The man in the photo with your ex and the woman is the woman's husband. The woman is Alan's cousin from Sweden. They met by chance at the hotel. Alan helped her by buying the tickets when her husband had to handle a last-minute meeting. Now let's continue. That's Alan leaving the station with the other man. But, Mrs. Janssen, you can see he is not with a woman. Do you understand now why we need to talk to him? He still left us without saying goodbye. There must have been another woman. I received a letter from him saying he started a new life and to forget him. That was new information for me, but Trish went on. Yes, he didn't reach out. I have another picture. It's hard to look at. You should prepare yourself. There was a pause. Then, that's surprising. Who is that? He doesn't look like himself. What does this have to do with first? Notice the time and date? Same day? 4 hours later? Yes, but I don't. That's your ex-husband, Mrs. Janssen. A gasp moved through the group. No, you must be mistaken. Why would you do this to me? What have I done to deserve such a cruel prank? Please go. Mrs. Janssen. Just go. Go! Voices got louder. Tensions grew. Then Greta spoke clearly above the noise. DNA! What? Anne's voice cut through the quiet. DNA proof, Mum. It's true. It's Daddy. Silence returned. But how? We needed to be sure it was really Daddy, so I took a DNA test. He is my father. But I don't understand. I tried to check at the hospital. This was Newcastle General. I'm a nurse. I was on the team that admitted him. Newcastle? But he was in York. Mrs. Johnson, will you see your ex-husband now? Silence. Then a soft, yes, of course. Chairs moved, and then they came around the corner. I was sitting on the bench that lined the wall. Hello, Anne. You're hard to talk to. I saw her understanding grow. First came searching, then recognition, then shock at my condition, followed by frustration. Frustration won. Alan? Is that you? Yes. You saw me at that restaurant and said nothing. Then you danced with me at the dinner and still didn't say anything. Why are you avoiding me? Sit down, Anne, I said sharply. She looked surprised at my cold tone, but took a seat. I'll tell you, and then you can leave. I'm sure you don't want to see me like this for longer than you have to. She opened and closed her mouth, but I spoke before she could respond. I will share everything I know. Most of it is hazy for me. Trish told me the details. I still don't remember how I ended up in the hospital in Newcastle. I was taken to the hospital. You know about my serious injuries, right? My head was hurt, my skull was fractured, my face was damaged, most of my teeth were gone, and my jaw and cheeks were fractured. That was just my head. 3 ribs were broken, and I had fractures in my leg and shin with both ankles injured. I had internal injuries that I won't go into. My attackers had taken everything from me, and my face was so injured that I was unrecognizable. No one could identify me. My injuries were so bad that the medical team thought they wanted me dead and believed I might not survive. I was in a coma for almost a year. I couldn't tell you where I was or what was happening. You mentioned a letter, but how could I write one if I was unconscious? Before I woke up, doctors were ready to give up on me after thinking I had been out for so long. There were no family members to make decisions about my care. They had to ask the court for permission to turn off the life support. When they finally got that permission and stopped the machines, I kept breathing. Then came many months of recovery. I didn't remember anything, not even my name. This was very unusual. I had to relearn how to speak, but my new face made it hard for others to understand me. The pain was great, and the journey was tough. Medical staff and police thought I was not telling the truth about my memory, and believed I was hiding something. The hours of questioning felt never-ending. Eventually, they believed me. You should know that I have been told much of this because my short-term memory isn't reliable yet, but my long-term memories have been coming back since I woke up. I think it was in January when I remembered my name and realized I lived in Sale. Trish, a friend, helped me find records that showed where I lived, and that I was married to you and had a daughter named Greta. While walking through Sale, I saw David's name on a door and recognized it. Since then, with support from friends, especially David, I have been able to piece together memories and details about my attackers and what happened to me. Anne seemed calmer now, but looked at me with confusion and perhaps even pity. Her voice became gentle. "Why didn't you reach out to me when you remembered who I was?" "I didn't remember you." She looked shocked. "I didn't have any memories of you," I explained. "When you came into the restaurant, I needed to be told who you were. But when you talked to me and I recognized your perfume, the one I got for you, it brought back a flood of memories. It was too much, and that's why I left." "I don't know what to say." Tears filled her eyes. "Thinking of you being so alone while I was." That was enough for her, and she started to cry softly. I felt sad for her, but wasn't sure how to comfort her. "I wasn't lonely, Anne. I didn't know anything at all. One of the nurses was kind to me and spent time with me outside of her work. Her name is Trish O'Toole, so you don't need to worry. In fact, I have developed feelings for her. I had no memory of you or anyone else. Trish became my whole world. She encouraged me to come here and sort out my life. That's why she is with me now." "Is she your girlfriend?" she asked, wiping her eyes. Trish had been quiet until now, and it seemed we had not noticed her. Then she spoke up. "One of them. He has another one, too." Anne ignored the comment, though it clearly affected her. "But you saw me at the dance, and you said nothing." "There is a reason for that. The police told me to keep my identity secret until they made arrests. They think they have some suspects. I have been trying to talk to you. For 3 weeks I've been trying to reach you. You could have known long ago." "But I'm your wife." At that moment, anger surged within me. "No, you are not my wife. You divorced me, remember? You are trying to ruin my business for your own gain, even though I have seen clearly through David, and fairly so." "How long did you really try to find me?" "Don't bother answering. I already know. If you had disappeared, I would still be looking for you. You know that." Everyone said my disappearance was completely unexpected. They didn't believe I'd run off with someone else. But you did. Right away. You believed Derek. You loved me for 20 years, yet you trusted him. So don't start telling me you're my wife. I got up to leave. Trish quickly followed me. We got in the car and she drove. "Are you satisfied?" she asked with frustration. "No," I replied. She needed to hear the truth. I told her. She knows now that she is with Derek based on a misunderstanding. She realizes she divorced an innocent man, someone who cared for her. I haven't mentioned that Derek might have bigger problems. I've started a new life. I don't need her anymore. She let me down. "Okay." She knew better than to argue, but she held me close that night as we went to sleep. As I drifted off, I thought of Anne. She had stood by me for many years, and we had shared a strong connection. I knew I owed her something. However, the last 2 years and her actions, along with my unclear memories, made it impossible for us to rebuild our relationship. It simply wasn't there anymore. It didn't feel good. My last thought was, she wouldn't even listen to me. Trish and I woke up very early the next morning. She had to hit the road. It was Friday. Fridays in the UK are busy. She needed to return to Newcastle for her last weekend before she finished for good. She would come back on Thursday before taking her flight on Friday. That would be the last time I would see her for a long while. I had taken the day off work and asked Jenny to come to the house in the afternoon to update me on our appointments. She said she would stay the weekend. She insisted, knowing it was Anne's wedding on Saturday, and I appreciated it. The morning was spent changing the bed. I didn't think it was fair to expect Jenny to sleep in the same bed that Trish and I had used the night before. So I went out to get groceries for the weekend. I made some soup for lunch and Jenny showed up just in time to join me. While we ate, I told her about my meeting with Anne the night before. "You still have feelings for her, don't you?" she asked when I finished. "No, not really. I have thoughts about how everything has turned out, but we've talked about that before." "Alan, if you were that upset about something Anne did, it sounds like you do care." "If you say so," I said, not entirely convinced but wondering if she might be right. "She still doesn't know about Derek's role in what happened to you, does she?" Jenny asked. No, and I won't say anything unless she asks. By tomorrow, she'll be married to him. She'll have to face the results of her choices. Alan, that's not right. It feels a bit cruel. Sorry, Jenny, she made her choices and now she has to live with them. Alan, I know we've said this before, but she did love you for many years. I can't imagine how she feels right now. Just as we might have continued discussing this, the doorbell rang. Jenny went to answer it, and I followed her. She opened the door to find Anne's brother, Peter, and a woman named Greta standing there. For a moment, they looked surprised. Peter stared at Jenny with a look of admiration. I had seen that look before and felt lucky to have Jenny around. Greta was looking at Jenny, too, and I realized they didn't know each other. Hello, said Jenny, smiling warmly. Hi, I'm Greta, she replied. This is Peter Drayton, my mom's brother, Jenny added. I remembered Peter from the night before. He was good-looking but seemed nervous, especially with women, which probably explained why he was still single in his mid-30s. Pleased to meet you, Peter, Jenny said. Come on in. I noticed Peter blush, which made me smile. I stepped into the kitchen to sit down as they came in. I stood up again to greet them. Peter, it's great to see you again, I said with a smile, shaking his hand. Greta, come here, I said, and she hugged me. Peter looked a bit worried when he noticed my head, but he quickly managed to smile. I figured Greta had given him a heads-up about it. He didn't say anything, which I appreciated. I had heard enough comments before. Dad, Greta said, Mom called off the wedding. She's really upset. Derek is very angry. He told her that you, Jeff, and David are trying to ruin the wonderful relationship they have. Alan, Peter said, sneakily glancing at Jenny. I don't know what you told her last night, but she came back feeling really down. She said she wanted to go home and looked sad. Well, Peter, I replied, I lost my temper. She was upset with me for not letting her know I was around and who I was. She reminded me that as my wife, she deserved to know. I told her that since she divorced me, she had no rights to anything regarding me. I also pointed out that she didn't look very hard for me and seemed to believe the story about another person too quickly. Coming back after 2 years isn't easy when your wife is living with someone else and has divorced you. We all wondered why you waited until just before her wedding, Peter said. I've been trying to talk to her for 3 weeks. She wouldn't speak to me, so don't say I waited until just before the wedding. You clearly wanted to stop the marriage, right? Not exactly. What she does with her life is not my concern anymore. We are divorced, remember? I just wanted her to know the truth. She has been upset with me for too long. But Greta says you've been back for months. Why the long wait? Okay, Peter. The authorities asked me to stay silent. Let me just share some facts with you. I can't tell you everything, but this might help explain things. The photos Trish showed Anne were of a man watching my cousin and me. The other person is actually my cousin and her husband. He nodded. One of my friends took me to talk to this man since he lives nearby. He told me he got me into a car, saying that my client needed to discuss something about our contract. It was a red car. I was left in a deserted area in Newcastle. It seems there were 2 other men with the driver. The authorities believe someone hired them to hurt me. In short, it was not by chance. They have been gathering evidence since I got back. They prefer I keep this quiet and especially didn't want me to contact Anne. They were very clear about that. At first, I didn't recognize Anne, so it wasn't an issue until I did. I reached out to her against their advice, but she wouldn't talk to me. Can you imagine how Anne would feel if she married thinking I had abandoned her, only to find out I was a victim of an attempted crime? I tried to see her, but she turned me away every time. Trish took charge, and as you saw, the outcome was not good. Is that clear enough for you? Peter thought for a moment before responding. But I remember, Peter said. Last year, March, I think she mentioned getting a letter from you. You said you were with someone else and weren't coming back. That made her very angry. Until then, I believe she hoped you would return. She showed me the letter, and it felt cold and distant. I couldn't believe it was from you. It seemed so unusual. But seeing the words written down. So, Peter, you didn't think I would write such a letter? But she did easily. How could I write such a letter when I didn't remember any of you here? I guess I must have signed it. Have you seen my signature since I started to write again? I found some paper and a pen, wrote my name, and slid it to Peter. Peter sighed. That's not your signature. I smiled slightly, but we didn't say more. There wasn't much left to say. As they were leaving, Greta hugged me warmly, the way she always did, and Peter gave me a firm handshake. After they left, Jenny turned to me with a smile. You held back well, she said. If they are smart, they'll think Derek might have something to do with what happened to you. Now let's sit back and relax. She guided me upstairs, and we sat together on the edge of the bed. Her cheerful attitude brought calmness to the room. We started talking about the day and how laughter had always helped us through tough times. At one point, a joke slipped out, and we both burst into laughter. The laughter grew and filled the room. We laughed so hard that it took our breath away, and tears rolled down our cheeks. It was a relief we both really needed. Life has been too serious lately, I said, finally catching my breath. Good, Jenny replied, sounding pleased. Laughter is sometimes the best medicine. I agree, I said, smiling, but it might not be better than everything else. We talked late into the night, with our easy conversation making the outside world feel far away. Jenny's ability to bring lightness to heavy moments reminded me how important it is to find joy, even during hard times. As we lay there, we reflected on how much had changed recently. Her calm presence made me feel grounded, and I knew I could handle whatever came next. What do you think of Peter? I asked suddenly, surprising even myself. Jenny paused, thinking about it. He's quite considerate, she said after a moment. Peter is really shy, I said. He's one of those people who rarely lets anyone in, but when he does, it's worth it. She nodded, and our talk shifted to lighter topics again, filling the room with a sense of shared understanding. He would never think you'd be interested in him. I'm not. I have you. I've seen how he looks at you, but you're so stunning that it makes him nervous. You might need to help him feel more at ease. And... She raised an eyebrow with a playful smile. Yes, I laughed. She jumped from the bed, dashed to the bathroom, and quickly returned. All right, let's make this happen, she giggled. So I did. We moved together in harmony. Oh, Jen, you're amazing, I said out of breath. Oh, Alan, I thought I was being daring, she replied, a bit surprised. She almost laughed, but then she stopped as the first rush of joy hit her. I stayed still. Then she let out a little cry and tried to push me away. I kept going until she calmed down. Then I matched her movements until we paused. That was something special, she said, sounding a bit breathless. I nodded, taking a moment to catch my breath. As she leaned against me, she sighed. I don't need anyone else, darling. You're all I want. I kept quiet, but I wondered about that. I wasn't sure if just being thankful for helping her was enough. Still, with someone like her beside me, I chose to enjoy the moment. Then I remembered what Greta had said about the wedding. Peter had gotten me to think about other things, but now I recalled the news Greta shared. Anne had called off the wedding. A wave of relief washed over me. Being single meant Derek could not affect her anymore. I wondered if she would connect my improvement with the letter she had received. She was smart enough to figure it out. If she didn't, I thought Peter might tell her. Would she see Derek as someone to suspect? In that moment, I wished I could observe everything happening at her home, but I knew Greta would be on the lookout. Maybe I would still hear what happened. We got ready and went out for dinner, then to a pub for a couple of hours before heading home to sleep. The entire evening was relaxed. We talked about everything except the current issues. It wasn't because we were avoiding the topic, it was just that we felt comfortable with each other, and the drama didn't come up. I didn't focus on it either. On Saturday morning, we slept in and sat at the kitchen table in our robes, reading the news when the doorbell rang. I walked to the door and saw from the shadow that it was Greta. When I opened it, she came in, dragging 2 suitcases. She set them down and hugged me. Dad, she said, looking worried, can I stay here? I can't handle living there anymore. Well, it seems you were hoping I'd say yes. I smiled as I nodded at her bags. You can stay today and tonight, and we can talk about a longer visit. Does your mom know where you are? No. I left a note in my room saying I left because I couldn't stand living with him anymore. We need to tell her. She'll be worried about you. She nodded and walked into the kitchen, stopping in the doorway. I heard Jenny's voice. It seemed like she wasn't too worried about anything. Hi, Greta, she said. Oh. Hi, Greta said, her voice filled with questions. You know where everything is, Jenny said. I'll go get ready. She walked into the hallway, her expression serious. Stay away from there, she murmured as she passed by me and went up the stairs. I couldn't figure out how she was feeling. I headed to the kitchen. Greta was sitting at the table with a glass of milk in front of her. What's going on, Dad? The accusation was clear. Why is she here? She is Jenny, I replied sharply, and what she does is not your business. But you're with Trish. I can't believe you're seeing her. Greta, I won't have you talking badly about my friends. If you can't accept Jenny, go back to your mother. Just go home. But Dad, I mean it, Greta. Go home. Your mother moved in with Derek because she misunderstood things. Now you're doing the same. Go. She started to cry. I waited. I remembered how she used to do this when she didn't get her way as a 12-year-old, but this time was different. I wouldn't change my mind. Eventually, I couldn't take it and picked up the phone. I called Trish's number. She answered, sounding a bit overwhelmed. It was clear she was packing. Trish, I said. Sorry to bother you, but could you speak to Greta? She needs to tell you something. Sure, I need a break anyway. Greta looked at me, concerned and shaking her head. No, Greta, you need to tell Trish what's happening. She took the phone reluctantly. Trish? She began softly. Did you know Dad is seeing someone? I don't understand. But how can you accept... When? There was a pause as Trish spoke for a while. But two of you at the same time? Oh, thanks. Will we see you before you go? Okay, thanks. Bye. Greta looked at me, worry on her face. Sorry, Dad. I didn't know. No, Greta, you didn't. I know two very caring women. Trish told you she's moving away on Friday? Yes, she replied thoughtfully. She said you could have a friend now that she's going. She's happy you're with Jenny. She likes her. Jenny likes her too, I laughed. They team up against me when they're together. You don't. No, Greta. Nothing strange. Her cheeks turned pink. Jenny came in, fully dressed. I knew she had been nearby, listening. Greta looked up, feeling guilty. I'm sorry, Jenny. I made assumptions. Come here, said Jenny, pulling her into a hug. We all care about your dad. There's a lot you don't know, but he has been very good to me. You could say he's changed my life. Greta nodded and turned to me. Can I stay, Dad? I promise I won't be a bother. She smiled, the old Greta shining through. Yes, of course, I replied. But we must let your mother know where you are. She has enough problems right now with canceling the wedding and what might happen with Derek. The last thing she needs is her daughter going missing. I realized I didn't know her home number, but Greta gave it to me and I called. Derek answered. Derek, it's Alan. I need to talk to Anne about... Not interested, he snapped. You've done enough harm. She belongs to me now. Just stay out of it. And he hung up. I sighed. Greta, I said, feeling defeated, can you reach Mom on her mobile? Derek won't let me talk to her. Greta frowned, but dialed the number and handed me the phone. Anne answered. Greta? Where are you? What's going on? She sounded worried. Anne, I said, it's Alan. Don't worry, Greta is here with me. I tried to reach you at home, but Derek wouldn't let me through. I just want to reassure you. She is safe here and wants to stay the night. Is that okay? Oh, it's you, Anne said flatly. Yes, I suppose she can stay. You're not going to turn her against me, are you? Anne, please don't think that way. You know I wouldn't do that. We've always worked together for the children, I replied. I'm sorry, she said. I know. I have no right to think poorly of you after what I've done. No, Anne, I quickly corrected her. I'm sorry for being short with you when we met. You can understand I'm feeling very emotional about everything that's happened. You were upset, and I shouldn't have reacted that way. Can you forgive me? Yes, of course. She sounded a little brighter. We need to meet to discuss access, but Greta can stay as long as you both like. She's having a tough time with Derek. You heard I canceled the wedding? Things are not great here right now. I understand, and I'll send her back soon. I think you need her now. We said our goodbyes, and I felt better after our conversation. Greta was shaking her head, but we had some things to talk about, and I hoped by the end she would agree to return home. 27. We sat in the living room that Saturday evening after a pleasant walk in the sunshine. I wanted to help Jenny and Greta connect. I have to say it worked well. They became good friends by the time we returned. I started to feel a little outnumbered again, but I was grateful for it. I decided it was time to clear up any doubts Greta might have. Suddenly the phone rang, and it was Colin. "Alan," he said, "can I trust you to keep this completely to yourself? If this gets out, I could lose my job and my pension." "Yes, of course," I said. "You know what I mean, right? I didn't tell you this, understand?" "Yes, Colin. Monday morning at 5:30 a.m. On a bank holiday? I thought weekends were off limits. That makes it better for surprise. People are more likely to be home." "Okay. Is that everyone?" "Yes, everyone together, then they'll go to different places. CPS has approved it, so it's going to trial." "Thanks, Colin." He hung up. I realized I couldn't tell Anne, Greta, or the boys, but I knew Greta needed to stay with her mom overnight on Sunday. The police could arrive without warning. I decided to ask Greta about home. "Greta," I said, breaking the quiet while we watched TV, "how have things been since Mom and I met?" She responded without hesitation. "Well, when she got home, she told Derek about you, Dad, and the accident. She shared what you said. Then she decided to end the wedding. That sparked arguments. Mom said if she had known what happened to you, she wouldn't have let Derek in the house. Derek insisted you were in the past and that she should focus on him. The fights went on for a long time. I eventually went to bed. The boys were already asleep, although Jan was still playing his music. Mom was up early on Friday, and I was having breakfast when Uncle Peter came by. They talked about what you told her, and he said he would find out why you did what you did right before the wedding. I told him I wanted to come along. When we returned home, Derek was out, and Mom was moving her things into another bedroom. It seems like she's made a big change. I asked her why, and she said she couldn't be with Derek knowing you were still in her life. She feels married to you, Dad, and believes the divorce was a mistake. Then Peter explained what you had told us. He shared it all as you said, and talked about the police being involved and how Mom wouldn't talk to you. She said she felt relieved because she would have been upset if she had married Derek, only to find out later that it was wrong. He mentioned the letter she got and how it couldn't have been written by you. Did you know he brought that paper with your signature? He showed it to her to prove it wasn't yours, and she seemed to think hard about that. After Peter left, Mom finished moving her things out of Derek's room. I think she didn't give him much attention the night before, which is why he stayed in bed so long on Friday morning. Maybe he was just taking it easy. At that, Jenny laughed and immediately looked sorry. "Greta!" I was surprised long enough for her to start to blush. Then I joined in her laughter, and she sighed with relief and laughed along. "Sorry, Dad, but I'm a big girl now. I do understand about boys." Her smile was charming and would surely win many hearts. It came out again when she laughed. "What were you going to say, Dad?" "So how do you know about boys? From experience?" She raised her hands as if to say she didn't want to talk about it, and I smiled, letting it go. Daughters are always a bit too young to be interested in boys. Jenny's smile was huge. "So what happened when Derek got home?" I asked. "Oh, there was a big argument. That's why I packed my things and left. He wanted to know why she was ending things with him. What did he do?" Mom said he should figure that out for himself, and it wasn't her job to explain. She told him she had moved out of the bedroom. That part of their relationship was over. While I was packing, I could hear them arguing loudly. He went on about how I had ruined their relationship and how could she want someone like you. "Sorry, Dad," that's what he said, when she had a man like him. I found it funny. "He's so boring." She told him you were worth so much more, and he shot back that if that was true, why did she have a great time with him? She reminded him that we kids might be listening, which we were. We couldn't hear exactly what she said then, but he yelled back that it wasn't true. She was completely happy. Then there was a pause, followed by quiet talking. They were in the living room, so I left the note in the kitchen and went out. I felt uneasy and knew I would have to think about all that later, but there were bigger things to deal with than my own feelings, especially for Jenny, who had been listening closely. I needed to help Greta get home to support her mother when things got tough on Monday. That meant she had to know everything except for the details of the situation. It was a tricky situation. "Well, Greta," I sighed, "what a mess." She didn't say anything. There was a quiet moment. Both girls were waiting for me to say more, and my earlier comment was clearly not enough. "Greta," I continued, "stay tonight, but I want you to go back tomorrow." I saw her about to ask to stay longer, so I pressed on. "Listen, I need to explain more, and when I'm done, you'll understand why I'm asking you to go back. Once again, please don't tell your mother or anyone else, especially not Derek. There are still things I can't share. I promised Colin, and his job depends on me keeping that promise. Can you promise me you'll keep what I share just between us?" "Yes, Dad," she said with a tone of resignation. "Yes, I promise." I brushed aside her attitude. "You remember I told Peter about a man in the pictures?" "Yes," she said impatiently. "Well, his name is O'Malley, and he told us that he was paid to follow me and inform some men about who I was." Trish showed Mum a picture of O'Malley and me together at the station. "O'Malley told me that my client wanted to see me, so he put me in a car. It was a red car. Later, 3 men left me at a construction site in Newcastle in a similar car. Mum got 4 pictures of me with my cousin, but not the ones with my cousin and her husband, or the one of O'Malley and me at the station. The red car belonged to one of Derek's workers. The other 2 men were also people he hired. They told O'Malley that they had been paid a lot for their work. Someone let O'Malley know I was on the trip and that something was planned for me." I didn't need to explain more. Greta looked scared. After a moment, she spoke in a shaky voice. "Daddy, I'm scared. Are you saying Derek was part of this?" "No, dear. I really don't know what role he had. I don't think you or anyone else is in danger from Derek. If he is involved, which I'm not sure of, I don't believe he wants to hurt me to get to Mom or for money. From what you've said, he does care about Mom in his own way." "Care?" "Care?" she shouted. "He doesn't understand real care. He just wants her. I can't stand him." Her strong feelings surprised me. I began to question if she could act unaware after what I just told her. "Greta," I said softly, "it's very important that you don't talk or act like you know anything. You will understand why on Monday morning. I need you to support your mother." "What's happening on Monday, Dad?" she asked, her eyes full of curiosity. "You have to trust me on this," I replied seriously. "It's better you don't know. As I said, I promised Colin I wouldn't share everything. I assure you there's no danger." "It has to do with the police, right?" she said confidently, smiling as if she understood what was going to happen. I kept a calm face. "One more thing," I added. "If you have any troubles on Monday, call me. I will help however I can." "Okay," she said. "I'll keep it a secret, Dad." Then I knew she would. "Good. I'll be at home. Call me if you or Mom need anything." I got up to prepare Greta's bed in her old room. "Time for bed," I said as I returned to the living room. Jenny was in the kitchen cleaning up and getting things ready for morning. Greta smiled knowingly at her but didn't say anything. Maybe it was for the best. Getting no response from me, she nodded and went upstairs. I heard the bathroom door close. I helped Jenny, and then we followed her. We got ready for bed. Jenny, wearing her bathrobe, looked at me with curiosity. "I remember I used to tuck her in," I said, feeling a bit silly. "That's sweet," Jenny replied with a smile. I waited on the bed until I heard Greta come out of the bathroom and head to her bedroom. I knocked on her door, and she said to come in. When I walked in, she was sitting up in bed. "Wow," she said, looking at me. "Greta," I said softly, "let's keep this respectful." She smiled back. "Come on, Dad, you've heard worse. I'm grown up now. But your body, not exactly a sight to admire, is it?" I joked with a smile. "With all the plates and screws and all these scars." Then Greta started to cry, and it caught me off guard. I sat on the edge of her bed and gently touched her face. "Don't cry, sweetheart. It doesn't hurt much anymore. Just some little aches now and then." It's not that, she said through her tears. I remember how handsome you used to be. You had such a cool look. Inside, I'm still the same, chicken. I know, but it's awful what's happened to you. That man? She spoke fiercely. Better to be here than gone, my dear, and I was close to being gone. So let's stay calm. Mom should see what those men did to you. Don't you want them to pay for it? I'm upset about what he did if he did it, I said thoughtfully. I'm also upset that Mom didn't look for me longer. I'm angry that he affected your lives. Just then, Jenny appeared at the door in her bathrobe. She looked beautiful. Look who's here, Greta, I said. I've got the love of two amazing women, and I mean it. I have great friends who've worked hard to find out who did this to me. I even found a cousin and a whole family in Sweden, but I'll share that story another time. I'm back at work, and thanks to Jenny, I'm doing really well. I appreciate the little things and the skills I've learned again. I have freedom and the love of my children. I brushed her hair out of her eyes. So no, I don't want revenge. What would that accomplish? Greta whispered, almost to herself. And I know Mom loves you too. I didn't catch her words right away. Jenny told me later. I took a moment to think before I added, what I really want is justice. They did wrong and should face the consequences. They need to see how their actions affect others. Greta nodded. Jenny sat on the bed, holding my arm. You see, Greta, she said, with your dad, he always looks on the bright side. Even at your age, you know the song Big Yellow Taxi. You don't know what you've got till it's gone. Your dad values what he has because he almost lost everything. Greta hugged me tight. Good night, sweetheart. God bless, I said. You always said that, Greta whispered as I gave her a gentle kiss on the forehead, and Jenny hugged her. Then we left. Please keep it down, everyone, Greta called as we shut the door. I hesitated, but Jenny giggled and pulled me back to our room. We tried to keep quiet. We didn't succeed. Sunday morning was routine. I told Jenny about what would happen on Monday. Greta slept in, and when she finally woke up, we went out for lunch before taking her home. We stopped at Derek's house, and Greta got out. As she grabbed her bags from the back seat, Anne walked down the driveway. She came to my window, and I rolled it down. When she saw Jenny, a look of confusion crossed her face, along with something else I couldn't quite understand. Thanks, Alan, for bringing her back, she said. No problem, I replied. I thought it might help to have her with you. That's kind of you, she said, glancing at Jenny, who smiled back at her. She seemed like she wanted to say more, but thought better of it. I wondered if Jenny's presence was stopping her. Well, she finally said, thanks again. Then she turned to leave, picking up one of Greta's bags as she did. Bye, Dad, Greta said, leaning through the window to give me a kiss. See you. Call if you need anything tomorrow. She nodded and took her other bag, following her mom. We drove home in silence. I felt like Jenny, like Anne, wanted to say something, but she didn't. Eventually, she spoke up, as observant as ever, noting that I wouldn't be at work the next day since it was a holiday. Plus, she didn't think I'd be there on Tuesday either, so we spent the afternoon getting ready. I told her to finish her tasks and then take the rest of Tuesday off. We had a light salad for dinner, and then she went back to her place. I went to bed early, and a drink helped me fall asleep at once. 28. As I expected, the phone woke me at 6:45. Dad, it was Greta's voice. The police took Derek away. They came about an hour ago. Are you all right? I asked. Yes, she said quietly, a bit shaken. And Mom? She seems out of it. She's been walking around the house doing chores. The police made a mess when they searched for something. They took Derek's computer and a lot of files. She hasn't said much to me. It's like she doesn't realize what happened. Now she's getting ready for work. Try to keep her at home. Remind her it's a holiday, and she shouldn't be driving or working right now. The police said they'd come back to talk to her. Dad? It seems like they think she's involved, too. Can you have her call me? If the police return, she'll need support. I'll call David later. Okay. What about the boys? How did they react? She laughed, which was nice to hear. They slept right through it. Honestly, Dad, they even slept through the police checking their rooms during the search. Just as well. Ask Mum to call me about taking care of the boys. We ended the call and I went downstairs to make breakfast. After that, I shaved, took a shower, and got dressed. Just as I was going back down, the phone rang. It was Anne. She sounded sad and tired. Alan? Yes, Anne. I'm not at work. It's a holiday. How can I help? Oh, you want to help, do you? She said sharply. Haven't you done enough? As far as I know, I haven't done anything yet. I worked hard to stay calm. I just told Greta to have you call. She mentioned what happened. Come on, Alan, she replied angrily. You set this up. You told the police that Derek tried to hurt you. No. Yes, she yelled from the other end. I pulled the phone away from my ear. You want Derek in trouble because he's with me, and you aren't. Where did you get that idea? It was getting harder for me to stay calm. It's obvious. It's not. I promise you, Anne. I have never said Derek's name to anyone in relation to my situation. Ask Peter. Ask Greta. Ask Jeff or David or Viv or Susan. I haven't spoken to the police directly about it. Colin and Keith have been looking for proof and for those responsible. What they find is up to them. I've said nothing. How can I believe you? Her voice was softer now. Anne, you remember our life together better than I do. You'll have to decide if I'm the kind of person who would lie. I know I'm telling the truth. What would I gain from lying? Besides, you don't have to believe me. And honestly, I don't really care if you do or don't. And this jealousy thing again, you know me better than I do. Was I ever a jealous person? Did I ever doubt you? Long pause. Well, no. Listen, Anne. I finally couldn't stop myself from saying something that might hurt her. I've got two great women who care about me. They both support me in every way I need. So what do I have to be jealous about? You've moved on. You've divorced me. You're with someone else who values you. You're free, and I'm free, and I'm enjoying my independence, which I never wanted, remember? Until this morning, I thought you were too. So why do you want to help? She seemed to have put the argument aside. It was a sincere question. Oh, for goodness sake, Anne, you gave me 20 years of your life. You were led to believe I had left you. You're in a tough spot. Again, I ask you, am I the kind of person to stand by and do nothing when you need help? You're the mother of our children. Do you need more explanation? Sorry, she said suddenly. You're right. Everything you've said makes sense. It always did, she added with a hint of sadness. You know the police are coming back? They might take action against me for helping Derek. Yes, Greta told me. I don't know what to do. Do you want me to come over? You sound like you need help. Would you? But if Derek sees you here, Derek won't be home today, trust me. For investigations like this, they usually take their time. So you knew about this? Yes. Colin mentioned it last night, but it was a secret, and I had to keep it that way. His job was on the line. Why do you think I asked Greta to come back? So you were aware. No, Anne. I wasn't fully informed about the police situation. You accused me of talking to them. I haven't. And they haven't come to me. Colin told me, and he was risking a lot. He knew I would want to make sure you were safe. Oh. Still want me to come over? Please. I'll also call David. If they ask you questions, you'll need him there. Do you think they will? I don't know. But if they come to your house, it's safer with David there. Alan, she sounded worried. I don't understand what's happening. You have to believe me. Anne, my memory is a bit unclear, but I know you are completely honest. I believe you. She sighed loudly. I'll be there in half an hour. We hung up and I called David. He said he could go to Anne's place since it was a bank holiday and he didn't live far. I got there first. When the front door opened, 3 kids hugged me hello. I looked up, and there was Anne in the back of the large hallway. She smiled at them, but had a look that showed she wished to join in. I gently moved away from the children and went to her. I hugged her and kissed her cheek. The kids drifted off. Don't worry, I whispered. A tear formed in her eye as she turned and led me to the kitchen. Like the hallway, the kitchen was huge. I wondered if all the rooms were this big. Anne caught me looking and said, Yes, they are. I laughed. You must be able to read my thoughts. She made us coffee and then sat across from me. "I don't understand any of this," she said, and tears began to flow. "Honestly, Anne," I reassured her, "it's better you don't. If I share what I know now, it might confuse what you tell the police if they come back. Once they let you go, which they will, I'll tell you everything I know. Does that sound okay?" She nodded. "Oh, Alan," she sniffled, "I feel much better now that you're here." David arrived and received the same warm welcome from the kids who hadn't seen Uncle David in months. Anne looked a bit guilty, but I reached across the table and squeezed her hand. She smiled back. I told David I hadn't shared anything with Anne, and he agreed that keeping it that way was best. He explained that Derek and the other men who were arrested would be questioned extensively. They likely wouldn't be let go until the next day unless they were charged. If that happened, they would go before the judges and possibly get bail or stay in custody until the trial. He reassured her that she wouldn't be held since there was no evidence against her that he knew of. While he asked her about her time with Derek since I disappeared, I took a moment to really look at my ex-wife as she answered. She was definitely a lovely woman, with a beauty that showed experience. Her hair had no hints of gray, and her skin looked smooth, though her neck was starting to show her age. Her high cheekbones gave her a lasting beauty, and her large, well-set eyes, straight nose, and full mouth made her look classic. As she filled the kettle for another round of coffee, it was obvious she had kept her figure after having children. I remembered that she had worked hard at the gym for months after Stefan was born. It occurred to me that any man would be drawn to her. A man like Derek, who was healing from a tough divorce, might especially want to be close to her. I felt a wave of anger and resentment at his betrayal. I remembered taking him out with friends and letting him stay over when he had too much to drink. In no time, that resentment turned toward the woman who was talking with David at the kitchen table. I glanced out the window and noticed that after a bright morning, clouds had formed, and rain was falling against the glass. It felt like tears for a broken relationship, quite predictable and maybe even a bit dramatic. His questions started off about the details of their relationship, but then became more personal. I saw her quick glances in my direction and realized I was complicating the conversation. David was getting frustrated as she avoided his questions. "Anne," he said firmly, "I'm on your side. The police may not be so understanding." I got up and left the room, wandering around the ground floor. Derek had clearly put a lot into the house he built. I discovered the pool, the gym, the living room, and the study, where it was clear that some computers were missing. Then I went upstairs and found the master bedroom. That was not a good idea. I saw the bed they had shared. The room was luxurious, with a big bathroom and walk-in wardrobes. There was a chest of drawers and a dressing table. What struck me the most wasn't the bed, but the dressing table. It represented their daily life there. Anne sitting at the table putting on her makeup, getting ready for the day. They were enjoying this luxury while I was suffering in the hospital, never crossing their minds. Looking back, I realize I might have been wrong about that, especially regarding Anne. But that's how I felt at the time. "Sickening, isn't it?" my daughter said. "She gave up our lovely home and all its memories for all this unnecessary luxury." I turned to her. "I left the kitchen. Your mother is sharing her life here with David. She felt uncomfortable with me around. That means something." Her face looked upset. "Dad, I want to live with you and Jenny. I can't stand being here with him. Let's get through this first, and then we can talk to your mother." She looked relieved. "Dad, let me show you the rest of the house. Have you seen upstairs?" I nodded, and she took my hand, guiding me through the upper floor. She showed me the main guest room. "Mom is sleeping here right now. I think I mentioned that." The room was neat, showing nothing about its occupant. That made me feel a bit better. I think it was being glad that Derek wasn't sharing time with Anne. She took me to see each of the boys' rooms. Jan was on his laptop, and Stefan was listening to something with headphones. They both smiled at me. "Greta," I said, "you should knock before entering their rooms. It's their own space." "Sorry, Dad," she smiled, "but tell them that too. I'm sure Jan wants to surprise me. He is curious about girls." That made me think. These boys needed a dad who would be there for them. I planned to be that dad. I heard the doorbell, and Greta and I went downstairs just in time to see Anne let the police in. A man in a leather jacket and a woman in a smart suit entered. "Who are you?" asked the man as I reached the bottom of the stairs. "I'm Alan Johnson, Anne's ex-husband." The woman nudged him. "It's him," she said, and I saw the understanding that it was me they were concerned about. They studied me closely, and I could tell my injuries left an impression. They said nothing else but followed Anne into the living room. Greta and I followed. They promptly told Anne she was being questioned about serious accusations. David asked if they could speak with her at the house, but they said they needed to take her to the station. Anne turned to me, her face worried. "They're taking me to the police station," she said, looking at Greta. "Don't worry, Anne," I said. "I'll take the kids to my place. David will call me when you're back." It took a little while to get the boys ready to leave. I told them to expect to be at my place for some time, so there was a lot to pack. The police waited patiently. We left, and Anne locked the door behind us. They let Anne travel with David because he was her lawyer. We left first, with the car packed with everything the boys might need for fun, along with extra clothes, their school uniforms, homework, pajamas, and personal care items. The boys chatted eagerly about staying at the house. I wondered if they missed their mother, but I thought it would hit them later. I was thankful for Greta's help. And she had her own bags, too. 29. On our way home, we stopped at the supermarket since I had 3 hungry boys to feed. I let them pick out snacks while I added some real food for dinner, like vegetables and fruit. When we got to the house, a crowd was blocking our way. There were news crews from the BBC and ITV, along with several reporters. They stepped back to let us through, and we were met with camera flashes as photographers tried to capture our arrival. We parked, and the boys unloaded their things and went inside. I walked up to the crowd and asked them to leave. Questions came at me fast, but I didn't answer any until everyone was outside the gate. Then, a reporter stepped forward with a microphone. I raised my hand. I have nothing to say because I know nothing. I didn't remember the events that led to the arrests, or what had happened in the days before and after, so I couldn't comment. "Mr. Johnson," the reporter asked, "how do you feel now that the arrests have been made?" "Tired." "Did you take the children away from their mother for safety?" "Their mother is helping the police, and I'm looking after them at her request until she returns." "But you brought them here." "Yes, this is my home. They used to live here. It feels safe for them during this stressful time." "Are you happy that these men have been arrested?" "Why would I be happy? For all I know, they are helping the police. As I mentioned, I don't know anything." "But you must see this as a good step forward." "If it is a good step, that's great. But I can't say if it is. Now please leave us alone." With that, I closed the gate and turned away, ignoring the questions about my marriage and my ex-wife. Once inside, the phone started ringing. I let it go to the answering machine, and no one left a message. I changed the outgoing message. "If you are from the media, please note that I will not answer. Family and friends, leave a message, and I'll call you back." I told the boys not to answer the phone, and we got used to the ringing sound. Eventually, the number of phone calls decreased, and then stopped completely. The rain, which had begun while I was at Derek's house, kept falling throughout the day, but the boys didn't seem to mind. Once we were inside, they grabbed their bags and headed to their old bedrooms. Greta went into the kitchen, and I heard the kettle whistling as it heated up. I got some bedding and made the boys' beds in case Anne stayed away until the next morning. Greta's bed was already set from her last visit. The boys quickly got lost in their games and hardly paid attention to me. That was a relief. Soon enough, they would realize that their mother was not here. Trish called me on my phone to say she would arrive in Manchester on Thursday afternoon before leaving on Friday. I offered her a place to stay for the night, and she agreed. For lunch, I made beans on toast with a poached egg and pieces of bread on the side for dipping. They enjoyed it a lot. "Dad," Jan said with excitement, "we haven't had anything like this since." He hesitated. "Since I was gone, Jan?" I finished for him. "Since I was in trouble?" "You can say it, you know." "Sorry, Dad," he replied. "Don't be sorry, son," I said. You can talk to me about anything. Are you going to get Mom to come home, Dad? Asked Stefan, thinking he could ask whatever he wanted, which he could. This put me in a tough spot again. I couldn't see any chance of that happening. I had been thinking about the morning's events while I made the beds and cooked. Anne hadn't talked about her relationship with Derek when I was there. I had kept my distance to avoid being embarrassed if David asked me to leave. The outcome was the same. There were things in her life I wasn't meant to know. I briefly wondered if there was more to their relationship than I realized. Without clear memories of the days and weeks before I was hurt, I couldn't be sure. Did Anne even know what happened to me? I pushed that thought aside. She was clearly surprised when I told her I hadn't been with another woman and that I had been hurt. She had stayed away from Derek when she knew I was nearby. It didn't make sense. But maybe she had a connection with him that led to my situation. No matter what the truth was, getting back together seemed impossible. Too much had happened, but we could still be friends. It's not that simple, Stefan, I said carefully. A lot has changed, and we're not married anymore. I don't think that will happen. But we both care about you, and you will see both of us often from now on. I don't want to go back there, Jan declared, and the others nodded in agreement. Dad, Greta said eagerly, he took Mum from you. He found a way in, and to do it Greta, I said sharply, and she stopped, realizing she had forgotten her promise. Listen, kids, I said more calmly. It's important to talk to Mum about this. Dad, Jan asked, what's going on with the police? Why did they take Mum away? And where's Derek? I knew I had to be careful, but Greta spoke first. The police think Derek might be involved in something, and they're asking Mum questions to find out if she knows anything. I wouldn't be surprised if he did something wrong, Jan said quietly. I appreciated Greta stepping in. I felt it was better to say nothing right now. The afternoon went by. The crowd at the gate got smaller until the road was quiet again. Greta was studying for her upcoming exams next week. I worried that this situation would bother her at such an important time. The boys were in their rooms. As it got later, I decided to make stew and dumplings with stir-fry vegetables. I knew the kids would like it, and it would last. We had our meal, and then Jan started his homework, as usual, leaving it until the last moment. Greta took a break to shower and wash her hair for school the next day, then went back to her studies. Stefan didn't have any homework. I remembered that they were still in school nearby and could walk from our house, unlike the ride from Hale. I turned on the TV to catch the news. I wasn't ready for what I saw. A reporter was standing outside a police station in Manchester. Jan walked in just as it was starting. Police searched homes in Wythenshawe and Hale today and arrested 5 men related to a serious event involving a local businessman from 2 years ago. Derek Fanshawe of Hale Barnes, Craig Wilson, Lee Harper, and Gary Grantham of Wythenshawe, along with Terrence O'Malley of Sale, have been helping police since early this morning. Later, Mr. Fanshawe's partner, Mrs. Ann Johnson, was also taken in for questioning. Mrs. Johnson is the ex-wife of the businessman, Alan Johnson. A statement from the police is expected later tonight. Mr. Johnson was badly hurt and not expected to survive. A doctor said he had a very low chance of recovery when he arrived at the hospital. Newsreader. Why did it take over 2 years for these arrests? Reporter. The police say he was so hurt that he was unrecognizable and all his belongings were gone, so nobody knew who he was. When he woke up from his coma, he didn't remember anything about himself. I was glad my interview didn't get shown. Jan stood in shock. Dad, they're talking about you, aren't they? Yes. Is that true? Did Derek hurt you? Jan, sit down. Please bring Stefan and Greta in here. He did, and the 3 of them sat down. I turned off the TV. All right, I said. What just happened on the news is important. I want you to listen carefully. No one is guilty until we know for sure. Remember that. No one. Derek has been arrested on suspicion of trying to hurt me. 3 of his workers are thought to have been involved. Another man who works for Derek is believed to have led the 3 men to me. They are just suspects for now. But the police must have reasons, said Jan. Yes, I'm sure they do. I shared what I knew. I was getting used to this situation. They all seem guilty to me, said Greta. But not Mom, insisted Stefan. She wouldn't do that. She loves you, Dad. Stefan was the most loyal of the three, and I admired him for that. I agreed with him. I couldn't believe that Anne would go against me. It seemed too impossible. I know, Stefan, and I agree with you, but remember that people are innocent until proven guilty. Mom has been arrested, too. Being arrested doesn't mean someone is guilty. Do you understand? Yes, Dad, they replied together. As the boys went back upstairs, I heard Jan say, I bet he did it, and Stefan added, So do I. I had done all I could. Greta went back to her studying, though I didn't understand how she could focus with loud music playing. By 9, there was still no news about Anne, so I put the boys to bed. Then I listened to the calls on the answering machine. There were a few strange calls, some rude ones, a message from Jenny, and one from Trish asking me to call back later when things calmed down. David called on my mobile at 10 and said he thought they would wrap up soon. Greta came down when she heard my phone ring, and after I updated her, she went to bed. At 10:45, the doorbell rang. There on the step was Vivienne, and with her, a pale and tired-looking Anne. Come in, I said. They walked in and headed to the kitchen. I followed to put on the kettle and heat up some stew. They sat at the table while I prepared the tea. Anne, I said, you look like you've had a rough time. She's been cleared, Alan, said Viv. David asked me to tell you that all the others will face charges and will go to court in the morning. I don't understand, said Anne as I made the tea. I can't believe Derek would do something like this. The police must be mistaken. He's such a gentle person. Why would they choose him? Didn't the police say anything to you? I asked. Not really. They just wanted to know about my connection with Derek. They seemed to think I helped him. Didn't you? I asked. She looked surprised. No, she raised her voice. How can you think that? I care about you. O'Malley mentioned that the person who hired him knew when I was going to York and how I would get there. A tense silence filled the room, and Anne looked worried and uneasy. Well, Anne, I asked. I might have mentioned it to Derek, I suppose. When did you do that, Anne? Alan, interrupted Viv. She's been questioned all day. Don't press her even more. Sorry, I said. I was just trying to explain that the police might have a reason to ask you some questions, Anne. There was a pause. I stood up to stir the stew and put some potatoes in the microwave. You both look like you could use some food. It's almost ready. I served the meal, and they ate quietly. After they finished and drank their tea, I noticed a small smile beginning on Anne's face, and her cheeks seemed to have more color. I was reminded once again of her beauty and what I had lost. Then I thought of the news. Anne, I said. Jan saw the news tonight. I gathered everyone together and reminded them that people are innocent until proven guilty. I didn't do very well. They all think Derek is guilty. They want to stay here. I just wanted to warn you. Are you trying to turn them against me, Alan? Is that what you're doing? Anne, if I wanted to do that, I wouldn't be telling you this. They see and hear things. I just wanted you to be prepared if they mention it. But you want them here. Please, Anne, I replied, hoping to be calm. What I want doesn't matter, and I'm not sure I could handle it. I'm fine on my own, but a full house? What matters is what's best for them. I genuinely think they are better off with you, but they're scared of Derek. That's not changing, I added quickly. Oh. Viv stirred. It's time for us to go, she told Anne. Did Anne seem disappointed? Is it okay if I say goodnight to the children? Anne asked. Of course, Anne, I answered. You don't need to ask. She smiled and left the room. Viv quickly spoke when Anne was gone. Alan, she said softly, Anne is having a tough time. She has been through a lot in the last few weeks, and today was too much. She feels confused and scared about everything that has happened. Please try to help her, Alan. I thought her boyfriend would be the one helping, I said coldly. Why did everyone think I was responsible for Anne? He's not around, and he might not be there until the trial. That's not true, Viv. He'll be out on bail tomorrow, and I bet O'Malley will be too. The other 3 will be held. They have a record. Alan, please, she urged. Don't take your anger out on me. Anne is struggling. She doesn't know if she can trust Derek. She needs to know the truth. You can help with that. Please, Alan. I gave in. All right, Viv, I said as Anne returned to the room. If she wants to know anything, she'll have to come to me. I'm not going to chase after her. Who? Anne asked. You, I said firmly. Time to leave, said Viv. What do I do about the boys, Anne? I can take them to school tomorrow, but do you want them to come back to you in the afternoon? I'm not sure what will happen tomorrow. Can they come back to you and Greta, too? I nodded. Can I come by tomorrow? I really need to talk to you. Why not come early before they get back from school? Viv smiled at me warmly. Yes, I had given in, big fool that I was. Anne looked thankful and said she would call me during the day to confirm. I told her to call my mobile since I wasn't sure if I would be at work. As we reached the door, Viv hugged me tightly. Thank you, she whispered. You're a good man. I'm a fool, I muttered, and she giggled. Anne came for her hug, and once more I held her close. The familiar feeling reminded me of our past connection. She gently touched my cheek, and I did the same. Tears filled her eyes, and I felt something in my throat. 30. I don't cook breakfast during the work week, so there were cereal boxes on the kitchen table, a jug of milk, and, against my better judgment, a bowl of sugar. Waking my daughter and older son was a struggle, bringing back memories of mornings from before, but Stefan was up and cheerful early. I told them to check back with me in the afternoon to decide where they would spend the night. I originally planned for them to walk to school. Stefan's elementary school was nearby, and the high school was about a 20-minute walk away. But when I looked out the window, I saw several reporters by the gate, so I drove them instead. When I returned, the reporters were gone, so I gathered my things and headed to work. Jenny greeted me warmly once I was back in my office. I missed you, she whispered. I told her I missed her too. She asked about what happened the previous day, and I filled her in. I also mentioned that Anne would come by in the afternoon to talk, so I would leave early. I couldn't read Jenny's expression, but sensed some uncertainty. I didn't say more about it. Shortly after 1 o'clock, Jeff came in and told me he had seen Anne and Derek leaving the court on the news. All the defendants had been sent to another court for trial, just as I expected, with 3 in custody, and Derek and O'Malley on bail. It seemed there would be a trial in 3 or 4 months. At 2 o'clock, I received a call from Anne. Alan, she said, a bit out of breath, and my mind jumped to various ideas. I told myself to focus and listen. Are you free now? She asked. I'm in the car and ready to come over. I knew it would take me 5 minutes to wrap things up at work and 10 more to get home. 20 minutes, I said, and then hung up. Jenny and I cleaned up and left together. As we went out, a camera crew started taking pictures of us. They seemed like they might want an interview, but I was in a hurry to get home before Anne arrived. I kept walking while Jenny paused. I had just stepped inside my house when Anne showed up. She wore a t-shirt and jeans and looked nice. I didn't need to ask if she wanted tea, so I began to prepare it. She sat quietly at the kitchen table until mugs appeared in front of us. Can we go into the living room? She asked. So we did. I settled into an armchair and she took a seat on the sofa. I could feel a quiet tension between us. Why are you doing this to Derek? The question was direct and hard to answer. It reminded me of a tricky question, where you can't answer without sounding guilty. I thought we talked about this before. I'm not doing anything to Derek. Derek says you are. He says you're the reason for all this. Well, it seems Derek must be correct and I must be lying. But he claims you've said he's trying to hurt you. Anne, I've told you before, if you can find anyone who says I've accused him of anything, I would be shocked. I have never accused Derek of anything. Besides, how would he know what I did or didn't say? But you think he has a role in this. Oh, yes, but that's very different from accusing him to others. Anne, you are the first person I've told what I think. I don't get it. Okay, I said. I'll share what I know. I've done the same for others. I asked them to think for themselves. You should do the same. How does that sound? Alan, she said softly. No one will tell me anything. I need to know. All right, I said again. Here goes. You know I don't remember much about my situation or what happened right before or after. All the details have come from others. How can I accuse anyone? I don't know anything from my own memory. Greta told me that Peter shared a lot with you. Here's what I've been told. I ran into my cousin Felicia by chance at the hotel. Do you remember O'Malley from the photo? He was there and also at the station. You remember that picture of O'Malley and me leaving the station? Recently, he told Colin, Keith, and me that he was paid a lot of money to follow me and guide me to 3 other men who were in court today. The 3 men drove a red Toyota. The police found the car and my DNA was in the trunk. At the time of my incident, the car was registered to one of those men. Derek is the one who hired them. O'Malley said they bragged to him about getting a big amount of money each to do the job. There was a witness who saw 3 men taking me out of the trunk of that red Toyota. Also, you only saw 4 incriminating photos of me and someone else. The other 2 photos, which would prove my innocence, were not shared with you. They were there. But why weren't they sent? Colin often says a Latin phrase, cui bono? Yes, Anne said. It means who benefits. Exactly, and that's the question you need to ask, not me. Who gained from keeping the photos secret? Everyone says you didn't lose hope about me coming back until you got a letter that seemed to be from me. It said I didn't care about you. I could not have written that. I didn't remember you or our kids when it was sent. That letter is not real. So, again, who benefits? I have one more thing to ask, I continued. Who pushed you to get a divorce? Who told you to claim half of the business? Whose construction company is in big financial trouble and needs money fast? As I shared this news, Anne became more pale and tense. Derek never mentioned any problems with his company, she replied quietly. I heard it from Colin and Keith, who know these things. Even Jeff heard rumors, so it's not a secret. And he didn't tell me, she said thoughtfully. Anne, I said softly, I'm not blaming Derek. I'm just sharing what I know. The truth is clear on its own. But, she stammered, I have been with him for a year, and he did this to you? I feel awful. You didn't know. Oh, Alan. He lied from the start. He took over the search for you, and I just went along with it. She became quiet. I noticed her face. It showed pain, but soon anger replaced the sadness. I waited, and then she spoke again. There was a strong determination in her voice, reminding me of the Anne I had once known and loved. She wasn't weak, but a proud and independent woman. The hurt from her husband's neglect had lowered her confidence, but now she seemed energized. Well, he is in the past now. I need to find us a place to live. She gave a small smile. I never really liked that house anyway. Was this the old Anne? Even in tough times, she could find a little humor. What will you do tonight, Anne? Oh, I'm going back there. She had a firm look that I now saw more clearly. Will you take the kids with you? I can manage on my own, but I don't want them there. Are you sure, I asked, that you want to be alone with him in the house? Alan, she replied calmly. Derek isn't as scary as people think. Besides, he does care about me, she added. Though he hasn't been getting much attention since I spoke to you and called off the wedding. We both laughed, and then the phone rang. It was Jenny. How did it go? She asked. Do you want me to come over? Hi, Jenny, I said, keeping an eye on Anne. It's been a bit hectic. Anne took Derek home and is here now. The kids will stay over. Want to come by this evening? She paused for a moment. Is Anne staying? She asked. No. She's going back to Derek's tonight. I think she has some things to talk about with him. Then she'll need to find a new place to live. Do you have any suggestions? I'll think about it and let you know. I'm usually good at reading people's faces. It's a skill that came back to me early in my recovery. It's important for someone involved in sales and negotiations. But during that phone call, I couldn't quite understand Anne's expression. Was it disappointment or simply a sense of giving up? I wasn't sure. All I knew was that it wasn't a happy face, which could relate to her troubles with Derek. What's wrong, Anne? I asked, trying to be casual. Deep down, I suspected Jenny was part of the issue. Nothing, she replied in a tone that invited no more questions. I knew better than to push, so I switched the topic. How do you plan to handle this? I asked next. Well, she said, could you watch the kids for a bit? They'll love being here. It's their home. I'll pack up their things tomorrow while Derek is at work and bring them over. That sounds good, I said. Greta has met Jenny, and the boys should meet her too. She gets along well with kids, so it should be all right. I quickly asked the next question. What will you say to Derek? I don't need to explain much. I'll just tell him the kids are living with you, but I won't mention what I know. I can ignore his lies, and he can stay in the dark about my plans. He's getting used to being alone. I need to find a place to rent, and once I do, I'll make my intentions clear. She noticed my confusion. I'm going to let him know my decisions. Alan, I'm going to give up any financial claims on you. I don't want anything to do with the company. I was following what Derek wanted, but now I understand the situation better. I was so easily influenced. I'll also let go of any claims to your investments or support. After that, I'll see what he does. I wonder if he was acting just to get to me or for money. In a way, I hope he lets me go. Then I'll pack my things and finally tell him it's over. I had to admire her determination and careful planning. It was a side of her I hadn't recognized before, and I quickly decided I didn't want to remember it. Will you stay for tea? I asked. Sure, she replied with a smile. It'll be nice to be with the kids without Derek around. They really don't like him. Yes, I said with a frown. They mentioned it to me. Greta also said something that worried me a bit. She felt uneasy about the way he was looking at her. Anne seemed taken aback, then her expression turned serious. Good thing she moved out then. She paused and a look of concern crossed her face. That's worrisome. I decided to cook pork chops with breadcrumbs, rice, corn, string beans, and an apple pie for dessert. We returned to the kitchen and worked together to prepare everything for when the kids came home. When they arrived, they shouted with joy at seeing their mom. After hugging her, the questions began. Did you come home, Mom? Jan asked. Are you living with Dad now? Stefan wanted to know. One at a time, Anne called out, catching her breath after being embraced by her sons. I've asked Dad if you can stay here for a while. Does that mean we're not going back to his house? Stefan asked. Yes, she replied. You're not going back there again. That's great, he smiled, along with Jan. And are you coming home? Jan pressed. Jan, it's more complicated than that. Dad is with someone else named Jennifer, and until today, I was with Derek. Can't he change that like you changed things with Derek? Jan suggested. Jan, Anne said. There's a good reason I'm moving on from Derek. Yes, he tried to hurt Dad, Stefan commented. Where did you hear that? Anne asked, worriedly looking at me. It was on TV, Mom. And what did I tell you, Stefan? I asked. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty, Dad, Jan chimed in. Anne looked relieved, but I was frustrated. She assumed I had told them, even after I said I hadn't. I shot her a glance, and she looked a little embarrassed. But you're moving on from Derek, so you think he's guilty too, Jan added. Now Anne seemed unsure. I think there are enough reasons to worry about your safety, she admitted. That's why I want you here. Once I can find a place for you all, you can move in with me. Until then, I'm going back to Derek's. I had enough. Okay, everyone, I said firmly. You three are living here with me. Mom needs to end things with Derek properly and find a new place. She can't stay with me because I already have a girlfriend. You will meet Jenny later tonight or tomorrow. She's a good person, and I expect you to be kind to her. Greta has met her and likes her. That's all there is to it. At that moment, Greta walked in. Who do I like, Dad? She asked as she entered. Jenny. Oh, yes, she replied happily. She's really nice. Oh, hello, Mom. She said this with delight as she went over to Anne and hugged her. Are you staying for dinner? She asked, getting a nod. The kids scattered to play, and Anne and I finished cooking. I added a pineapple ring to each chop to make it special. The kids loved this meal and usually asked for it on their birthdays. Another happy memory. We all ate together in the dining room just like we always had. It felt nice and comforting, but it was also a little strange since we were not a complete family anymore. Still, the talk flowed easily, filled with discussions about school and friends. There was a lot of laughter, and Anne exchanged playful jokes with everyone. Once again, I was reminded of how beautiful she was, how lively her expressions were, how sharp her mind was, and how her smile brightened the room. I felt a wave of frustration that our happy family life had been disrupted by the man she was going back to. After dinner, Anne said she would have to leave, but promised to return the next day with the children's belongings. It was clear they would be staying, and they seemed happy about it. I received a call from Jenny and invited her over. She said she had an idea she wasn't sure I would like, but would explain when she arrived. She also mentioned that she wouldn't be staying the night since they had just moved in. When Jenny arrived, I called the boys down to meet her. Stefan glanced over, said, "Hello," and went back to his games. Jan stood there, and I couldn't help but laugh. He seemed shy and couldn't take his eyes off her, looking mesmerized. "Hello, Jan," she said gently with a smile. "Hello," he stuttered before quickly leaving the room. Jenny looked at me, confused. "What?" she asked. "He's really impressed by you," I chuckled. "What do you mean?" "He seems quite taken. I might have competition." She quickly collected herself. "He's much younger and quite charming. I might just be tempted. We're just joking." What a fickle heart. We both laughed before heading to the living room. "I have an idea," Jenny said, "but I don't think you'll like it." "Go ahead," I encouraged. "Anne needs a place to stay." "Yes, you're very observant," I replied, my tone a bit sarcastic. "Do you want to hear my idea or not?" "Sorry, Jenny. Please continue. You still have that flat you are renting, right?" I understood her idea right away, but got it wrong. It's too small for her and the kids, plus it's farther from their school. "Will you let me finish?" she said, looking frustrated. "Sorry." "How about Anne comes here?" "Not a chance," I replied. "I have too many unresolved feelings with her." "Alan." "Sorry." "Anne comes here with the kids and you move out to the flat." I was surprised. It had never crossed my mind. They say the truth sets you free, but what if the truth is a prison of its own? Anne's betrayal, Derek's lies, they're only the beginning. The deeper I dig, the darker it gets. How far will I go to reclaim what's mine? Stay tuned, and make sure to subscribe for the next chapter of this unraveling mystery.